Shamrock Roofing. Shamrock Roofing and Construction, where one call does it all.
Isn't this a sports show?
Papa, tell me about the radio days. Oh, well, there were many struggles and many difficulties.
Almost entirely.
I remember hearing this one radio show where they did nothing but visual gags on an audio medium. The host did a whole segment with his nose taped to his forehead.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Papa, whatever happened to him? Son, I don't think you're ready for that story. All I can tell you is don't do cocaine. Too late, Papa! I learned it from watching you!
Take the show with you by listening on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app at 810WHB.com or by searching for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
You did this to me, Papa! I just wanted to be like you, Papa!
This is Almost Entirely Sports on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
What a big couple of days in the sports world. What a big night we have for you tonight here on Almost Entirely Sports. Last night, Kansas wins a national championship. We've got some Chiefs talk right around the corner. Rudy currently dressed head to toe all black because Blake Bortles is out of a job, but it's because he wants to look for a better job.
I would say this is, hey, I'm all about the spin zone, you know?
Sure, spin it for Blake Bortles. We got some food takes for you today. This show's going to be loaded.
Blake Bortles was going to be on a team that was going nowhere. Saints, garbage. You know where this frees him up to go? Kansas City's got some good barbecue, baby.
That's true. That part, and
I'm just saying.
It's a bit of a non sequitur because what you just said there is true.
Blake Bortles loves some BBQ.
Wow, why do you hate BBBBQ? Is Blake Bortles barbecue?
I'm just
wow.
QB3.
All right, now
Chad Henne
I'm
deserves
interested.
QB2.
Why do you hate Shane BBQ Shell?
Shane Bieber? He's pitching for the Guardians.
Nope, different guy.
Well, you know what? Shane Buechele had a chance to win me over when he was one of those quarterbacks where I was like, Texas is back. And then they weren't back. And then he went to SMU, and then Texas was back again at one point. That's not his fault, but, he's part of the Texas is back, but they're not really back. Bleeding, I guess. I don't know.
No, I think bleeding is the right word. I think it's awesome that this show talked about Shane Buechele before we really talked about K winning a national championship.
What happened last night?
I love this show. We're going to go a variety of places here. I told you, Twitter has been overtaken by bad food takes today. We will offer you our own at some point. I know Rudy's got a history of being a little bit of a picky eater. I have some opinions I'm not afraid to share.
I don't know if I would say I have a history of being picky. I just dislike one thing very strongly.
Fair enough.
I would say in the lore of the show, the person who only, out of a list of like 50 things, only ate 2 of them.
Sure.
That's picky.
No, Beards, R.I.P. Rest in pieces of chicken. He definitely took the crown on that one, but I think we'll find some takes from you. This can also be our alert to intern Adele, who's again here tonight. If you want to work on your most problematic food take for later in the show, Adele, I'd love to know. We will get there. We also have Seth Keysor, Chief of the North Newsletter. He's joining us at 9 tonight. We'll talk about what the Chiefs haven't done on the free agency spectrum. Also, I will make the point here that Seth has tweeted already that he doesn't think steak is very good. And we'll get to that later. I'm holding our big food takes. Derek Johnson of KLWN will join us at 8 to talk more Kansas. We'll do our national championship talk here in just a second. What
Adele says she
hold on, I don't know if I want.
Nothing specific.
Okay.
She just says she doesn't think you're going to want her to do this.
Well, now I definitely
sounds like it might be problematic.
I definitely am. I am definitely ready for whatever that is, even if it hurts me. This is something that I think Adele has learned certainly over the course of her incredibly educational internship with us.
So educational.
I think at this point, if she hasn't learned it implicitly, I'll say it explicitly here. You can write this down. Take these notes back. And this is really gonna. Here's your gold star. Here's your A+ on this. Okay. It is worth personal hurt for good content. That is one of the core tenets of this show. I have not ever said that out loud or written it down, so please transcribe that for me. Think about getting it tattooed on my forearm.
I think it's, even if we've never, like, I mean, I feel like we actually probably have said that was word for word.
It's in the DNA of the show.
Everybody knows.
Yes.
This is something like to a little bit like, but I guess behind the scenes, right? Where like I think where we firmly see eye to eye on this.
Yes.
In terms of we grew up, I think kind of on the same. I think we grew up on almost literally exactly the same radio shows and the styles that those shows were and why we think they were so successful. And part of that is the fact that like your life, for the most part, is an open book.
Yeah.
Like you're allowed to have some things, right? Like, or like, you know, and there's a clear like, I remember when I was out, cause my mom tested positive for COVID, right? And I was close.
Yeah.
You asked me, it's like, hey, am I allowed to say? I was like, yeah, man, I don't care.
Right, but I figured you would. There
is respect that, hey, we're not just throwing each other's dirty laundry out there without talking, and with the exception of some things that we know aren't crossing the line, or maybe it's right on the line and we don't really care if it's crossing the line or not.
That's the thing, but that line is fun.
But there's a clear line where, like, so there is some respect there for anybody listening, but we're very much big believers that when you're on the radio, the best radio shows are generally when the hosts are very open about their life and everything about it.
And if Adele says, you know, burnt ends or dog food or something.
Oh, boy.
Look, I think we have a duty at that point to not just shred up her internship documents. I do think, though, I mean, will it take a letter grade off if I have any power there? Will I be making some phone calls? Yes, absolutely. Of course. Of course I will be. But yeah, I'd rather you know a little too much than not know enough. We're not that far away. I don't like top of the tower radio, you know? Not a radio tower, like a Rapunzel tower, shouting down at the subjects. That's no fun.
And there's that respect of like when you were in the hospital unconscious from diabetes, not knowing exactly how much Josh wants out there. You know what? We're gonna play it a little safe in that moment.
Yeah, let's find out if he dies or not.
Yeah,
that's
let's
right.
Chill.
Sure.
Right. That's the line we don't cross. You know, we'll wait till he. We'll wait till he is conscious,
just alive,
and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, that's the question. That's right. Ideally. And even, I mean, at some point, it seems unlikely that we're all going to die at the exact same time. Although I guess it seems like maybe the options there might be increasing. But, eventually we're going to have to make jokes at somebody else's funeral.
For sure.
You just don't want to make it, before the funeral is established.
Like, if I get hurt and or die from jumping from the balcony to the tree and I didn't make it, that's fair game.
Fair game.
Fair game.
That's basically in your living will.
Yes.
Like, that is, we know that. We could protect ourselves legally just from audio taken from this show.
Absolutely.
I am trying to think right now about, like, life stuff that I would not be comfortable sharing. And
it's the stuff that's probably more.
It's just
so
boring
extreme
stuff.
that you can't you don't predict that this stuff is going to happen.
Right.
Passing out from diabetes, like ending up in the hospital from diabetes.
I don't think I've ever talked about my hobby of kidnapping chickens from small town farms across the state and then herding them all up in my own backyard and then just releasing them into my neighbor's backyard so they wonder why they have a wild chicken running around every once in a while.
And that's smart.
And I'm not going to say that on the radio because I would obviously implicate myself there. That could get me in trouble.
Absolutely.
So it's just the illegal stuff that I don't talk about, And the deeply immoral
stuff.
Yeah, it's all
so much of it.
All of the immoral, illegal stuff, And again, that's a long list.
To be fair, there's just not time, which might be the real reason why we don't talk about it.
That's right. If this
show
show
3 hours.
Exactly. If this
things are happening, like KU wins a national title.
We gotta talk about that,
Gotta talk about that eventually.
Can't talk about the fact that Rudy hunted manatees on his last vacation. For sport.
I mean, they say tees are the world's most dangerous game.
Exactly. And they're just so delicious, which is of course something that you and I talk about off the air, which is how delicious and decadent manatee meat is.
Have you ever had a T-bone from manatee M-bone?
See, Seth would not think steaks were overrated if he just ate more manatee.
He'd love them.
Crack a little bald eagle egg over the top, a fried bald eagle egg right on top of that. Are you kidding me? It's delicious. Little, not really a surf and turf because one's in the air. Little surf and soar? Surf and soar.
Yeah, I like that.
There you go. Yeah, I
had something funny, but the manatee thing really got me.
I was looking for my segue back into, speaking of,
it was good.
The manatee tournament.
Nice.
David McCormick was robbed. I'll take that. That feels like, I'm going to take that segue. I feel like I worked hard for manatee tournament.
It's good enough.
Not very good.
Good enough.
Good enough. We settle for that around here. The national championship game last night was really fun. Look, we'll talk about some of the specifics with Derek at 8. There is some basketball stylistic stuff here that I think is kind of interesting. But man, think about the last time we got to see a game that sort of played out this way. And you might say, well, Josh, actually the answer was KU Miami like an hour and a half ago before this game. And you're right. But what ultimately is going to be remembered from any national championship, and this is nationally, not even getting to the specifics of it being Kansas. We'll come back around to that. But the thing that makes these games memorable is a last shot or a close game or a late moment or maybe some other storyline at hand. And frankly, I do wonder if in 10 years, if people aren't going to say, yeah, and who won that championship game between Duke and Carolina? Well, actually, Carolina won the game, but then they lost to Kansas. Oh, yeah, you're right. Boy, I just remember all that Duke-Carolina stuff. That's probably going to happen on some level.
Coach K's last game, well, I almost said last game ever. We'll see. See Jay Williams comments?
I've heard this floating around, though. I hate it. If he comes back after all of this, we just have to ignore him.
I hope he does, but not game one. You can't come back game one. You come back middle of the ACC. Duke is sitting in 5th place. John Shire magically has a back problem.
I was just about to say John Shire has to take some sort of
medical leave.
Some sort of leave.
And Coach K steps in and it's just one more guy. It'll probably happen honestly, probably not right when they're about to play North Carolina again, but the game before that, so he can get kind of back into it. Because here's the thing, he's got to get revenge against North Carolina.
Can't go out on back-to-back massive L's.
And then the worst time, it's your last game ever in Cameron Indoor, and then it's your last game ever.
Final Four. I like the idea that...
And a guy named Hubie stole it from you.
I like the idea that John Shire, all of a sudden it comes out that the NCAA is doing some investigations into specifically, not all of Duke, just John Shire.
Just him.
And we're like, wow, man, this is really coming from some incredibly specific allegations. I wonder how the NCAA got all this information.
Plot twist. So Nolan Smith... shortly after, I think maybe just the day after. You may remember Nolan Smith played basketball at Duke, maybe with John Shire, actually. They were pretty close to each other. He is leaving Duke to go to, oh crap, I forget now. Maybe Illinois. He's going to be the head, Louisville. He's going to go to Louisville because Kenny Payne is leaving the next coach there to be the number one assistant, right? He's getting a promotion, right? He's moving up. Spawn, the coaching staff's open. Maybe Coach K just slides right in.
He just goes down the bench?
And he's shadow coach.
Oh, my goodness.
That or his grandson takes that job, and he just funnels all. And it's just then Coach K is shadow coach through his grandson.
I like him just in the stands, just like right behind the bench, just sitting there like Roy Williams, just arms folded, just looking like an angry owl, which is his whole vibe. Just coach, if everyone in sports got snapped into a cartoon animal, Coach K would turn into the angriest owl. Wise but cruel.
It's pretty good.
What animal would Bill Self be?
Something kind of something you respect. You take it seriously, but also it's pretty fun.
I kind of
It's
like
an animal you like to hang out with.
I kind of like a bear. Like not a super fierce grizzly bear, but just an average size bear that, but that's in a good spirits.
Yeah.
So we're in a cartoon,
It can absolutely take you out if it wants to, right? Like because it's a bear.
Yeah.
It's a big bear. Maybe it's like, you remember Bear in the Big Blue House?
Absolutely.
Bill Self might be the bear from Bear in the Big Blue House. Bear in the Big Blue House was a big bear.
I don't know.
But he also was out here just teaching kids lessons and
it's not bad.
Beating the moon.
I don't know if Bear in the Big Blue House has, I know a whole lot bleeping more about this than some people in him.
That's true.
I think there's an intensity in Bill Self.
That's fair.
That's why I'm going like standard bear. But I don't know. Ironically enough, Scott Drew, definitely not a bear.
No.
Scott Drew's like a dolphin.
Not bad.
Not bad, right?
Not bad.
Not terrible.
The only thing that might be, and I feel like the only part where I might disagree is I feel like Scott Drew actually is like a really, like, from everything I've heard, he seems like a very cool dude. Dolphins, secretly massive jerks.
Okay, good point. I don't want to impose that on Scott Drew.
Coach K a Dolphin? Everybody's like, oh, look, he's so great. When in reality, he's just going around like kicking people.
Just
yelling at children.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, they're actually the smartest mammals. Coach K's actually the smartest coach. And he yells at children.
Maybe he's like an octopus, which is... I don't... See, here's the thing. Coach K does not have a friendly front-facing demeanor.
That's fair,
you know what I mean? Like,
because, a dolphin comes off as very friendly when in reality it's a pain.
Yeah. Well, we'll continue to unpack that throughout the course of the show, especially when we get to our food takes, again, about how much we love eating dolphins or whatever.
Good meat.
So I had some tuna for lunch today. Might have been some dolphin.
Dolphin of the sea.
No way of knowing. Well, now hold on. No, but the thing that you remember about the games like this is like you remember the emotion you feel. At least I do. Maybe I shouldn't impose on everybody. But even going back to like the games that I was taking incredibly specific notes for, I remember Damian Williams locking up the Super Bowl. I remember Sammy Watkins. I remember Sammy Watkins in the AFC Championship game against the Titans. I remember Wasp.
When he, or just him, even when he cooked Richard Sherman.
Yes. Like, you have those moments, right? Like, plays and everything. But I don't think that most people on your just, like, day-to-day, like, you look at the T-shirt you bought or the championship hat, you put that on for a nice little weekend around the house. Just really, you want to soak up, maybe it's August, and you want to remember what it feels like to be a Super Bowl champion or a national champion, or just, you're wearing it to work, whatever. Whenever you see that, you're going to remember how it made you feel and maybe how that game made you feel. I remember the, like, pit in the stomach of Chiefs-Niners because it just hadn't happened yet, right? Like, it was... the Chiefs have Mahomes. They're probably going to be back here, but you just don't know. And, man, it would be nice for them to just win one, and we all will know forevermore that Kansas City has won a Super Bowl within the last 50 years.
I'll never forget just a straight-up denial that I was like, guys, this is fine. Like, we're going to be fine. We have Patrick Mahomes. We're going to beat many of these. Yeah, sure, it sucks, but it's fine. Mm-hmm. And as I have this very positive smile on the outside, on the inside, I'm just slowly dying. Literally,
as all good fans of a sporting team would do.
I don't even take many games that seriously.
No, I know.
Super Bowl,
it felt different. AFC Championship game of the Super Bowl felt very different for me.
Also, I mean, it was our first one. It was our first Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that's all 100% valid. And so the fun thing about KU last night is that you honestly. Whenever they jumped out 7-0, a little bit of me was bummed. I'll make this point also. I've decided how I'm going to frame this forevermore. And whenever it comes to local colleges, and I have no shame in this, I'm going to use a word that has very negative connotations. I'm going to use it in a way that I'm not ashamed of. When it comes to the local colleges, I am a bandwagoner. Here's how I mean that specifically. I want to hang out.
You only root for KU?
It's funny. I want to hang out with the fan base that seems like it's having a good time.
So KU.
Which to some extent has been like Mizzou basketball Twitter, because Mizzou basketball Twitter is a fun time. But I want Eli Drinkwitz to be. It's fun. It's fun. They hate themselves. No, it's fun.
Fun, the right word.
For me, yeah.
Oh, okay,
for me,
fair.
yeah. Because I'm not that
that's
emotionally
fair.
invested. No, I don't have any familial ties.
That's fair.
I enjoyed talking to Chris Kleiman a few months back, whenever that was. I would love for K-State football to be really good. I would love for Eli Drinkwitz to pan out. I would love for Lance Leipold to pan out. I would love for K-State and Mizzou basketball to turn it around. I like it when Wichita State's good. That's where my parents actually went, so I might have the closest connection to Wichita State. Anyway.
Big football school.
I want a huge football school. Wichita State and Kentucky have won as many meaningful football games as each other recently.
That's not true.
I think that's pretty much true.
Not true at all.
Pretty much true. Did you guys win a title that I don't remember?
Did you guys win the Music City Bowl? Are you Belk Bowl champions? I didn't think so, Josh.
You showed me the Belk Bowl.
Does it just mean more at Wichita State?
I just want to.
I went to both schools, okay?
I just want to hang out with the people who seem like they're having fun at a given time. So, like, I wanted KU to win this game, and I want to be. I had the thought, like, look, I was not gonna go, but like looking at Twitter, be like, Mass Street seems like an awesome time right now. And if K-State wins the national championship and Manhattan is torn to bits, I will look at Twitter and go, that seems like a pretty good time right now. Again, this is my advantage here, going to Mid-American Nazarene. I can enjoy the fun of it all and not be around for the sorrow of it. And that limits how much I can enjoy it, right? Diehard KU fans enjoyed last night way more than I did. No question. I'm just saying, I want to hang out where it seems like a good time. If you've got a KU house, a Mizzou house, a K-State house, a Wichita State house, a UMKC house, you fill up that whole thing. I'm going to go to the party at the one that's got people having a good time, not the one where everybody's really sad, like mourning the death of a program.
I totally get that. I have a little. It's not completely the same as you because like I grew up in a KU family, right? Like I was raised a KU fan. Now I went to Kentucky, and over the years of not going to KU, just like every year, I noticed I cared a little less and less about what KU did, to the point that now it doesn't. Like I don't really care. Like I was rooting for them last night because, like, again, my family's a KU family, right? My dad wanted KU to win. I was like, you know what? I want my dad to be happy.
Sure.
I want KU to win, and they're a local school and everything. But also, I do get that because, like, yeah, you get to actually kind of, step back a little bit and not get caught, like, completely caught up. But you're right, though, right?
Yeah,
like,
I'm an observer.
I did not enjoy KU's win. Like, I was happy. There was a fist pump, right?
Sure,
so
yeah.
nobody.
It's
I was
exciting.
the only
It's
person
fun.
here. Nowhere near as excited, I'm sure, as my dad or
right.
my friends who went to KU.
And that's why I don't care about gatekeeping on bandwagon fans or whatever. Like I'm wearing a Sun shirt right now, okay? If the run they made last year, and if they make the run this year, I did and will enjoy that much more than anybody who hopped on whenever Chris Paul ended up in Phoenix. I've got the mileage. I've got please forgive my beeping entire body. I can only stop this every once in a while. It's my pancreas's fault in a roundabout way. Like I don't mind bandwagoning. I don't mind gatekeeping. I don't gatekeep bandwagoners because, again, from a collegiate perspective, I don't have that local tie to anyone in particular. So I just am kind of enjoying it all. All of that was to say that whenever KU went up 7-0, a little bit of me was kind of bummed because I was like, well, I kind of thought we'd at least, like, I want KU to win this game, but I'd like them to win a good game.
Thought this might be a little close.
And then it was 40-25 at halftime, and I was a little bummed. Because I thought, well, God, if you're listening, I did say I wanted the game to be more competitive, but this isn't what I meant. And then you get the second half. And this is, for me, what is, of course, going to be the fun, memorable story of where this all goes from here. And this is while, by the way, North Carolina does all of this with 5.5 guys. Like, really. Somebody played 2 minutes whose first name I did not learn at any point across the entirety of the tournament. He was their 7th guy off the bench. Everybody else, Puff Johnson, who got out there, Cam Johnson's brother, Suns connection, Phoenix Suns legend.
Weirdly
Dude
enough,
comes off the bench and drains a shot.
Puff, not the shooter that Cam is. You know, you don't normally see a guy like Cam Johnson's whole thing is shooting threes, and Puff shoots 22%. I was like, that might have been the thing that threw me back the most.
He'll figure it out.
I was like, wait, what?
Similar hair, look very similar.
You mean Cam Johnson's brother can't shoot a three?
You would think that the little brother would be a better three-point shooter.
Now Cam
right?
is like 32, so Puff just got maybe just needs to age like a fine wine.
Cam
right?
Johnson was old when they drafted him and has aged like a fine wine. He's 26. Yeah.
He's good though.
He sure is. But so Carolina does all this with basically 5.5 guys, and then Baycott gets hurt again at the very, very end. All of that,
And even Caleb Love, I don't remember what time it was when he clearly hurt his ankle.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of that game, Caleb Love did not look the same.
And also, if we were going to do a serious basketball conversation, you could have the conversation about the fact that North Carolina never shot well, and KU could not buy a layup in the first half. The game happened already. You probably enjoyed or didn't enjoy that already. We can break down some of that at 8 when Derek Johnson of KLWN joins us. The thing, though, that I think is like deeply fun about this is that you could literally go line by line down this Kansas roster, at least go 6 deep. And you can tell the entire story of where this guy was a problem and how this guy turned it around. Like, if you're a KU fan, you did not want to see Jalen Wilson pull up very often. But he had a genuinely, impactful performance all around. David McCormick's foot has not been right in a very long time, and you have those moments every game where you go, why can't David McCormick just do the thing that he occasionally does, and he just why is he Bruce Banner right now when the Hulk would be much more helpful? And then Hulk smash David McCormick probably should have been the player of the Final Four ultimately.
Just like Damian Williams.
DeJuan Harris is not asked to shoot or score, nor should he. Defensively last night was a menace.
Almost had one of the worst plays in the tournament, but
did not end on the highest note for him personally.
But ultimately, doesn't matter.
That's a great point.
They won. So you know what? And this is the beauty of it, right? Like, you can sit here and go DeJuan Harris. And if you're a DeJuan Harris hater, which there are a lot of people who are, that's going to be what they mention. But you know what? Also, if you're DeJuan Harris, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it worked out. That's okay.
Because they won. So none of it matters.
I'm not a DeJuan Harris
Oh boy, when that
hater.
happens, I was like, is this really happening?
Probably not a lot of relaxed butt cheeks around the greater Lawrence area, I would say, during that time. Rightfully so. Ochai Agbaji has sort of the turnaround of, again, his weird streakiness and everything, but he can't hit a free throw. But he has his moments of yes, unanimous Big 12 Player of the Year. Christian Braun, or as Charles Barkley called them, Christian Braun and my guy Agbaji in the postgame.
At least the Braun thing is if you're somebody if you're somebody like Charles, who is that might be the first time you've ever watched him play basketball, or second.
Hopefully not by the national championship game.
I don't think he's been. My guess is because that's the thing. He is not watching basketball.
No, but just during the tournament. If it's the first round, he's been at that table every day.
I don't know, man. I don't
during the final. You don't think he learned how to pronounce Brown during the Final Four?
No. Charles Barkley.
I say Braun sometimes whenever I'm looking at his name, my brain just wants to do it.
Shaq thought Jokic was Russian and tried to do an interview with him in Russian once. And Jokic was like, I don't know what you're saying because I'm not Russian.
He called him my guy Agbaji.
That one is, I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know. I have no defense for that one. The Braun thing, Braun Brown, I have a defense for that, I feel like.
But Christian Braun, who just should change how he pronounces his name, honestly. It is confusing.
Or change the spelling. One of the two.
Pick one. He goes from an absolutely incompetent layup attempter to screaming profanities over at the bench again. I think Remy Martin is my favorite player on this KU team to watch. By the way, and then Remy Martin did Remy Martin things. It wasn't perfect. he had all of the energy that you always expect him to do, and then he ends up hitting 4 of 6 from 3. I mean,
they don't win a title without him.
I don't think they are a Sweet 16 team without him.
Yep.
Independently, they're not a Final Four team without him.
Yep.
Independently, they're not a championship team without him.
Correct.
You could probably do that with different guys in different ways. That
For
conversation matters more for Remy Martin because he's coming off the bench doing it. He's doing it on 20 minutes per game.
Nate mentioned had this point once, I think last week, and I think it's a great point, especially when you start talking about who was the best player for KU in this tournament. Like the difference between their most important player to their 5th most important player is it's a smaller gap, I think, than it generally is for most teams because they have 5 really good players, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, Ochai is obviously, I mean, he's going to be an All-American, so I this is not to say he's not a star, but you know what I mean? He's not the Paolo Banchero, he's not the Chet, right? He's not going to be like
he's not the freak. Here's an eloquent term. He's not a game taker overer.
Yes, I like that.
You're welcome.
It's very beautiful, right? Like there is a small gap between what their most important player provides to what their 5th most important player provides. It's a pretty close bunch. So the reality is they needed, obviously, all those guys to win. They all played a very big part in winning. But Ochai is their best player who had a pretty mediocre tournament. And when that happened, Remy Martin stepped up and was incredible. Was the Remy Martin that everybody saw at Arizona State. And they don't get to the national title game without Remy Martin. Again, they don't get there without Ochai, right? They don't get there without David McCormick.
Right.
But like Remy was the main reason, I would say, why they made it to the Final Four.
Certainly, the thing that makes it easy is his absence.
Yes.
You have the long stretch of the regular season without him. You have him working his way back towards the end of the season and into the Big 12 tournament. But we didn't know what that was going to look like. And we all watched Kansas without Remy Martin and went, this seems like a team that's going to get out there and they're going to bleep around and lose to Creighton or San Diego State or whatever. I feel like we were saying those 2 teams' names even before we knew that they were going to be a first round or going to be a second round matchup with them. But like, this is a team that you're planning their early exit with it being the starting 5 with Mitch Lightfoot and KJ Adams and Jalen Coleman-Lands being the first guys off the bench.
Also,
Remy
KJ
Martin changed that math.
Might want to change sports because KJ just looks like a future first round pick in the NFL draft. That man feels like $100 million pass rusher.
He's got, I feel like he's got the bend, do you think?
Yeah, just every time he comes on the court, he's the defensive stopper. I'm just like, good God, this man is just built.
Yeah, if he just, and at the end of the game there, they should have probably just tackled Caleb Love before he got that shot off at all. Would have been, whatever. I get it. Although somebody made the point that KU could not offensively rebound during that game, and I was like, you know what, fair enough. You make one, miss a second one on purpose, put back, yikes. Now we're going to overtime. So actually, I understand that. But this, like, all of this is in a game where North Carolina hits all their free throws. They out-rebound you to absolute oblivion. They had a game with 24 offensive rebounds.
Yeah.
KU had 8. That was a bullying. And KU won that game. But none of that stuff is going to be the thing that you, if you're a KU fan, or really anyone, that none of that's going to be what you remember. You're not going to remember that they got out-rebounded like crazy. You're not going to remember that Brady Manick might have been concussed that entire game. You're not going to remember the shooting problems or Ochai missing a few free throws. And 5 free throws. Those are things. Those are things.
2, skip a few, 5.
Those are things that you recognized in the moment because you're anxious about it. You've been washed over now with the blessing of a national championship. The thing we're going to remember is that every single one of these guys in the main 6-man rotation, make it 7 with Lightfoot, I guess. But like certainly those 7 guys, you are going to remember more fondly now forever. And I don't even just mean from this game, although this game provided really good opportunities for literally all of those guys. But if you're a Chiefs fan and a KU fan, and really, again, maybe you could expand this outside of your fandom. I know I'm a weird case on that, though, because I just told you, like, I'm not buying KU merch, but if somebody gave me a KU hat in Lawrence, I would wear it with, happily. It's fine, right? I would, in some world, get a free KU hat, a free Mizzou hat, a free K-State hat, and then stack them all up on the same shelf in my closet, okay? I'm not telling you should love me for that.
It's going to happen at some point in his life. It's just a matter of, right? Like, at some point, you're just going to end up with those 3 hats, and they're going to be prominently displayed next to each other.
They're just going to be all together, and I'm like, hey, man,
and then there's going to be a UMKC one.
I would be happy. I've
Go Roos.
made this point multiple times. I currently now definitely have the closest affiliation to UMKC out of any of the local colleges, because none of those other local colleges had the hospital that I went to in the aforementioned near-death experience.
Also a kangaroo mascot.
Shout out to both for being a kangaroo and for University Health being, in my experience, pretty good hospital. Grand scheme of things, who's to say? For me personally, there's sort of a pass-fail test, and they passed. They passed for me. So I've got But I want there to be more feel-good around our college sports. I do also like Sad Mizzou Twitter. I just think they do it really well.
So well.
Aaron Ladd is one of my of KSHB 41. He has the sweet spot though, because he's got Mizzou tiers and Atlanta sports tiers.
I feel sorry for him.
And Falcons fans and Mizzou fans on Twitter really occupy a very similar spot in my heart.
Because at least
shout
most
out to
Mizzou
Aaron.
fans have the Chiefs, right? You have something to build you up.
Yes.
Oh, Aaron. Yeah, Braves didn't win a World Series, so they got something.
And that's fine. I don't want anybody to be miserable all the time. If you're gonna be miserable, be funny.
Except
and
for
if
Mizzou fans.
and if you're gonna be good, party. That is my official stance. If you're gonna be miserable, be funny. If you're gonna be good, party. Don't be a narc about it if you're good, and don't be wallowing in self-pity if you stink. And last night for me was an excellent national championship experience. I'm very happy for all of the Kansas fans who have been able to soak in this team. There's a tweet from our friend, formerly of Fog.net, Scott Chasen, that I'll bring you whenever we come back, that I think is a brilliant reflection on Bill Self. And it's got to be weird, I guess, to be a Mizzou and a K-State fan during all of this. But that's the beauty of college rivalries. I just felt like the extra little sauce on top there of largest halftime comeback in national championship game history. It's like another thing that you will have as a data point, something you remember about each of these guys, this coaching staff, this entire team, all of the ups and downs of this year. KU gave you a great one. I don't know what else you could ask for. Other than if somehow Coach K could have been both coaching both teams of a national championship game at the same time, and then maybe we don't actually have to watch the game itself. We just have a camera on each of the two Coach Ks at all times. Other than that, I don't know what else you could ask for.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page.
It's time to start thinking about spring cleaning, and I already know that thanks to my new E-Tech Custom Coatings garage floor, it's going to be easier to clean, and I'll use my garage more this year than any time before. And it looks great. Give E-Tech Custom Coatings a call today for a free estimate. That's etekcustomcoatings.com. For a limited time only, call E-Tech and tell them Nate sent you. You'll get 10% off your E-Tech floor. 913-745-3732. Locally owned and operated. E-Tech Custom Coatings.
Hi Royals fans, this is Dayton Moore. The very same experts who treat the Royals can treat you too. Whether you're into sports or into your kids, you can count on the specialists at the University of Kansas Health System Sports Medicine and Performance Center. From injury prevention to sports performance to leading-edge treatments, they'll keep you at the top of your game. Whatever it may be, you deserve the Royals treatment. For an appointment, visit royalstreatment.com.
You found the one? Now find the ring. Come to Shane Company. Our team of jewelry consultants will do whatever it takes to help you find the perfect engagement ring. Not only are we knowledgeable about diamonds and sapphires, ring settings, and financing options, but we're problem solvers too. Just the other day, a guy came in who wanted to surprise his girlfriend with a spectacular engagement ring, but he wasn't certain what style she would like. So we came up with a great solution. Get a classic solitaire diamond ring for the proposal, then set up an appointment to come back as a couple and create her dream ring. He did just that. He selected a 1 1/4 carat oval diamond and had it set in a solitaire ring setting. Then, after the proposal, he and his fiancée came back together and swapped it for a pave ring setting and added a halo decorative crown to give it even more sparkle. When she put it on, she was beaming. He pulled off an amazing proposal, and she got the ring of her dreams.
Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and ShaneCo.com.
Hello, Kansas City. It's Matt Beasler, former Sporting KC cap. Did you know you can recognize outstanding teachers and students in our community by nominating them as Blue KC Sporting Samaritans? We've partnered with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City to recognize administrators, teachers, and students who make our community a better place to live, work, and play. Each Blue KC Sporting Samaritan will be recognized at a Sporting KC home match throughout the 2002 regular season. They'll receive tickets to a match and be provided with SKC merchandise and more. To learn additional information about the program and to nominate a Blue KC Sporting Samaritan, visit sportingkc.com/BlueKC.
Are you looking for a career change? Let Sports Radio 810 help you with your search. Many local companies are hiring right now, and there's never been a better time to check those opportunities out. Go to 810WHB.com and click on the Community tab and search Job Connections. Great companies in our community need you right now. Companies like MJ Transportation, Amini's, Twin Peaks, and Easton Roofing. So check it out at 810WHB.com. 810 Job Connections, connecting you with your next career.
Kansas City's home for Major League Baseball. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hooking into the corner. It is a home run.
All season long, we'll bring you the best Royals coverage in town. Plus Sunday night baseball and exclusive coverage of the All-Star Game, the Major League Playoffs, and the World Series.
The Atlanta Braves are world champions.
Sports Radio 810 WHB. The power of sports. You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
You know, Cal makes Brad call him dad. Can't call him coach.
Really?
He makes him call him dad in practice.
That's kind of bleeped up. I don't like that.
That's kind of weird.
With Joshua Brisco.
Like, could you imagine Tyler Self calling Bill dad in practice?
No. I know plenty of KU fans that call him daddy, but that's different.
On ESPN Kansas City.
Rudy played that liner twice in a week.
Yes, I
and
forgot
didn't fix it
change
either
it.
time. We're on Sports Radio 810 WHB,
right
explicitly not on ESPN Kansas City.
I thought I changed
It's
it.
an old liner from the olden days, but, you know.
I'm going to change that. I'm going to fix that right now.
We're probably not going to play it again for a very long time, I would imagine, but it's a good liner, so it deserves it for posterity.
It might get played tomorrow. Who knows?
It's a great liner, and at this point, I think clearly earned. A couple things from the chat. You can watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch. Or nope, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Don't know why I said Twitter.
I made the mistake now.
On the ESPN Kansas City, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. No, Sports Radio 810. You can go to facebook.com/sportsradio810, twitch.tv/sportsradio810, youtube.com/810WHB. From yours on Twitch, nobody's going to spend the extra $5 on a size 9 hat for your big ass head. That is a great point. I do not get free hats very often, and oftentimes when I do, I respectfully decline, or like set it on the top of my head and be like, "Look, I would love to take this hat from you, but you're basically giving it. You're just basically giving it to a city thrift through one person wearing it for 1 second."
To be fair, you don't necessarily have to wear it. You just need something to display in your little, home office background for all the video stuff.
I like hats, though. I like wearing hats.
I just mean, though, as long as you can get one, just for display purposes at the very least.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely want free hats, but I'm a 7 5/8, I think. I got one hat that's a 7 I'm 7 3/4. I think I have one that's a 7 7/8. Is a little too big. I don't know. I got a big head. Also from Bull on Bull on YouTube, is Bill Self the best coach in college basketball? Here's the thing. One is that the list of qualifying coaches there in that conversation are really minimal. There are great coaches who haven't won a championship at all. There's some really good ones who've only won one. Yeah, Mark Few having not won one is crazy. Cal only having one is crazy. Yeah. But here's the thing. Bill Self only having one was crazy.
Yeah.
Nobody in Kansas history, no coach in Kansas history ever winning two is crazy.
Yeah, I heard that and that. And, I guess it makes sense because it's this was their 4th national title. So it's like, well, of course. So, you can't have one. But it was just.
But just assume that Roy
say
got
it
two.
out loud. It just feels wrong.
I think if you asked.
Roy didn't get any.
Right. I know. I mean, think.
At Kansas. He got 3 at North Carolina.
I think you would assume if you just asked your average, KU student, before yesterday, how many championships has Bill Self won? No one's going to just, unless they really are following, right? I mean, if you go back and do the math, obviously we know the math. But I think you assume that Roy Williams won. You assume that Bill Self won multiple times. You assume that if you've created the sport, you would have an edge. You know, but recruiting back then was different.
Only a KU coach with a losing record.
It's incredible. So yeah, I mean, I think all of that creates such an interesting view of all of college basketball, but also it should hopefully put a spotlight on how difficult it is to actually win the dang thing. And for Self, they now do it twice. Again, it's been a while removed, but and that's also why in college basketball, if you make a Final Four, you get a banner, right?
That's such a huge deal.
It's huge because everyone understands it's not just getting to the AFC Championship game or even getting to a Super Bowl. I guess you get trophies for winning your conference in football, but it's just you're putting 60-plus teams into this tournament. Over many years, that number got slightly larger, so I'm not just going 64. Those playing games are important for advertisers. But you've got the 64-team bracket. You're playing all of these single elimination games back to back to back. You can be incredible and get knocked off by a Cinderella because they're the Peacocks. You can be Villanova and get back to the Final Four again. You just lose to the eventual champions.
Future Wildcat Doug Etter put his name in the portal today.
I saw that. Makes me a little sad, but also I get it. Coaches leave after those jobs all the time.
Cal should be reaching out.
Nah, Kentucky legend in the making.
Every St. Peter's player that wants to play at Kentucky should just be guaranteed a scholarship.
Yes, I love
that.
They
should just be allowed to join the team.
They should put that into if you are a 10 seed underdog or more, like by a 10 spot difference or more, you should be able to transfer automatically
to that school
for the next year. But here's the other thing to the Bill Self question. Our friend Scott Chasen tweeted this out yesterday. Final recruiting rankings of the main KU basketball rotation players. Harris, number 94. Ochai, 132. Brown, 130. Wilson, 53. McCormick, 36. Remy Martin, 84. Lightfoot, 116. Just call me crazy, but I think that Bill Self guy can really coach. This is also code for what's your excuse. Bill Self just won a national title with like a Maryland-level roster. And now look, part of that is development of those guys over years. Part of that is that Remy Martin was highly sought after, as he transferred to KU before this season. But that as a point of recruiting rankings and what you turn those guys into, none of them were supposed to be who they are right now, other than maybe David McCormick. And he wasn't. Usually, if you're this good at the college level, and again, McCormick's gotten plenty of bleep, if you're this good at the college level, you are usually one of those top 5 big men of your class, right? Or maybe a top 5 overall recruit of your high school class, and you say, oh man, look at how they climb here. That is an incredibly impressive coaching job and also player development job, because nobody would say that Ochai Agbaji is 132 in all of college basketball right now.
He was going to Missouri State, I believe.
But what was he whenever you got in the game? And I think all of that is obviously extremely well reflected on Bill Self. And I think if you want to call him the best coach in college basketball right now, you've got just as good an argument as anybody else. Rudy mentioned during the break, Jay Wright obviously belongs in that conversation, but frankly, he just hasn't hit. He's just hit different since he lost the suits and went back to quarter zips.
I think that might be the only conversation. Like, I think it's Jay Wright or Bill Self. I think I probably lean Bill Self. That also might be recency bias. I think that's where the conversation starts and ends, those two coaches.
I also think Bill Self is a better coach in a quarter zip. Jay Wright's a better coach in a suit.
Fair.
I've never believed a college basketball take that I've had more deeply than that. I don't think there's I think I've nailed it. I think all I got to do now is just take a break and soak in how right I was for 10 minutes.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports anywhere, anytime? Well, you can. Just search for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
We've been talking about championships, talking about rings. Let me tell you where I got mine. That's right. I'm here to tell you about Ruback Fine Jewelry. This is where I went when it was time for me to get my engagement ring situation all planned out. But I say the phrase engagement ring situation because I was a person that went into Ruback without a plan. I went into that process without a plan. I went in going, what am I going to do in the engagement ring planning world? I knew I wanted to do something unique and something specifically tailored to what Renee likes. I eventually thought, maybe we should get Renee in on this process a little bit. I'm so glad I did, and I'm so glad that I went to Ruback. They've been serving Kansas City for more than 100 years. They helped me create this incredible ring that Renee and I adore to the point of like, I would just say once a week, maybe for a couple of days, Renee will just like the light will catch it and she'll just be staring at it. And then I'll look at her staring at her own ring and she'll just go, it's just so sparkly. And it is, it's beautiful. And here's the thing about the custom engagement ring process. You might know what you want and say, all right, hey, I'm going to go in, I'm going to talk to Hal. You got to talk to Hal and say, hey, I want to walk through these steps. Here's my end result that I want. Maybe, like me, you go in and say, I don't know what I want, but I know I want it to be special. Please help. The custom ring process allows you a custom budget. So you might go, well, hold on now. Is this something I can afford to get in on? If it's as good as you say, Josh, how can I make it work for me? That's exactly the question that you take to Hal. Go talk to Hal at Ruback. He'll either help you create a vision or he'll bring your current ideas to life. Plus, again, that custom ring means a custom budget. So you've got flexibility as you're creating something beautiful and unique to you and to your loved one. Make your appointment with Ruback Fine Jewelry right now by visiting them online at ruback.co. That's ruback.co. That's where I went when it was time for me to get my custom engagement ring for Renee all lined up. I am so very glad that I did.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
I'm attorney Mike DePasquale. After a car wreck, the last thing you want to do is trust the insurance company. These insurance companies try to rip off good people every single day. My law firm won't let you get ripped off. We'll fight to get you all the money you deserve, and you don't pay us a dime unless we win your case. If you've been hurt, call me. I've got this.
Mike's got this. All you need to know, 816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
More energy, better sleep, and so much happier. 40 pounds lighter and still going strong. Shaman's Leewood Total Wellness has changed my life. 2 words, guys, it works. Tell your friends, tell your wife, tell anyone who wants to lose some weight and live a better life. Call or stop by for a free consultation. Mention 810 and get $100 off your startup fee. Shaman's Leewood Total Wellness, 117th and Row in Leewood, or call 913-227-9150. Life is better with the feather.
Digital Lagoon creates dynamic websites for clients ranging from startups to multinational companies. Just having a website is not enough. We also design social media campaigns, create comprehensive SEO strategies, and newsletters to enhance your brand. Digital Lagoon also offers specialty print, from trade show booths to interior signage or brochures and business cards. Let Digital Lagoon become your marketing partner. I'm Jordan. I'm proud to be president of Digital Lagoon. Contact me at digitallagoon.com.
You want it? Amini's has it. It's springtime at Amini's, and new patio and outdoor furniture is arriving daily, and it's all on sale. Reserve your patio furniture today. Amini's has over 4 million in stock of everything, so don't order online from a company you don't know. Go to Amini's. They even have 60 months no-interest financing. Take it from me, SSJ. Now's the best time to get what you've always wanted for your home, indoors and outdoors. The selection has never been better than now at Amini's.
Play the slide out for Lucky Loot every Thursday in April for your chances to win your share of up to $72,000 in Lucky Loot. So remember, come by 7th Street Casino every Thursday in April, and you could be a big winner. Located in Kansas City's historic downtown district, 7th Street Casino, Kansas City's only all-slot casino. 7th Street Casino, in the heart of downtown KCK.
As an employer, are you having a hard time finding great people for your company? Let Sports Radio 810 help you with your search. Many local companies are taking advantage of the 810 Jobs Connection program. Recruitment is tough right now. The online search engines are packed with all your competitors. Sports Radio 810 Job Connections is a turnkey program designed to help you find your next hire. For more information, contact Sandy Cohen at scohen@unionbroadcasting.com. That's scohen@unionbroadcasting.com.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Steve McCarluke?
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
We'll talk a little bit more Kansas whenever we get around on the next segment. I know it's going to be another short segment and a break. We went really long in that first segment because, believe it or not, we got distracted, but also we wanted to talk about the one serious sports thing that happened last night. national championship game.
We went like 40 minutes. College basketball games are 40 minutes. It's only fair.
Yeah, that's what I felt like it deserved that. But we'll talk to Derek Johnson of KLWN whenever we come back around here in about a minute about his view of that game last night, where he was at halftime, what his biggest takeaways were, how this reflects on Bill Self and all of that. And then somewhere after that, we have to talk about these heinous food takes that people have been throwing around. I know that'll be a subject with our friend Seth Keysor of the Chief of the North newsletter. We'll talk to him at 9 here, so about a full hour from now. We'll get to Seth. We'll talk about what the Chiefs have and haven't done. We talked about Ronald Jones for like 30 seconds after our segment last week because we just straight up ran out of time. I want to talk to him about that because I think that if you are a Chiefs fan invested in the Chiefs offense, they did something very interesting by bringing in Ronald Jones, but I don't think it's the obvious thing. And I want to talk to him about that along with a bunch of other things. It's been kind of a quiet time, and also he tweeted that he doesn't think steak is very good. And I don't know, I'm thinking about it. So we'll talk to Seth in an hour, but Derek Johnson of KLWN talk more about Kansas's national championship. That's next.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
My heart was racing just making spaghetti. I could have waited to tell my doctor, but I didn't wait.
I was short of breath just reading a book. I could have delayed telling my doctor, but I didn't wait.
They told their doctors and found out they have atrial fibrillation, a condition which makes it about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. If you have one or more of these symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness, this is no time to wait. Contact your doctor.
Brought to you by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Matt Coker here from West Coast Men's Health. Guys, Viagra is not the answer for your problem. I know you think it is, but Viagra has horrible side effects, and for most men, the longer you're on it, the less it works. Viagra is not a curative medication.
810 WHB Kansas City, the power of sports.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Chewie, we're home.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
We'll talk a little Chief football later on. Seth Keysor will join us in an hour, but we're still riding that KU National Championship train right now. We'll do it with Derek Johnson of Rock Chalk Sports Talk on KLWN in Lawrence. You can follow him on Twitter at DJohnsonRadio. Derek, obviously, there are a million places we could start right off the backs of this national championship game. I'm choosing to start with a request of you, though. I don't know if you saw it today going around Twitter. A lot of people were asked to put out their most cancelable, problematic food take. And I was wondering if you have a food take, either as a picky eater, as a preference of one sort, that you think would get people to turn off the radio before we actually let you talk about KU basketball.
So I am like one of the least picky eaters ever. There are very few things that, there's certain things that I don't love, but I think the one thing I can't, but I don't even think this is unpopular. I can't do olives.
Yep.
You put an olive on a pizza, I'm not touching it.
Yep. I'm also not a very picky eater. Olives are, I love pickles and most pickled vegetables and stuff. I kind of think maybe this will be the time that I actually want to eat olives, and it's never been that time.
Yeah, I think the idea of it, especially when you see somebody who's eating the olive with the pit in it, and it's
right.
Oh, this is this finely made food. The idea of it looks cool, but it's just, no, not my thing.
Yeah, I think you're going to have more teammates on that than most of the horrible takes. I've seen people slandering peanut butter today, and I don't need that. I love peanut butter. Peanut butter is a welcome food. I've got kind of a Ted Lasso strategy of peanut butter, which is I just might walk over and just stick my whole hand in it and lick it off my hand like I'm Winnie the Pooh.
Your dog, my dog would love you.
I love the idea that I just made you just go, huh? I don't have a response for that. You didn't warn me about this in the texts earlier. I just sort of thought we'd talk about, not your peanut butter eating strategies. You would have been wrong, but now you're pretty much right. Again, it's Derek Johnson of KLWN. Give him a follow at DJohnsonRadio. I do want to travel back in time a little bit here, Derek. Not just to where the game ended last night, but walk me through the moment in time at Kansas 7, North Carolina nothing, and then where you were at from there to halftime.
Yeah, so Kansas goes up 7-0, and that's kind of the moment where you start to stick your hand in the peanut butter jar. And then North Carolina goes on that run, and it was weird because it didn't feel like it was – I mean, you tip your cap to North Carolina. They were playing well in the first half. I don't want to take that away. But a lot of that just felt like it was on the backs of Kansas just playing poorly. You didn't get defensive rebounds. You were missing so many layups. Remy Martin, Christian Brown, Jalen Wilson, who were all great in the second half, really struggled in the first half. And I think once it got down to 15 and then Ochai Agbaji hits the shot to make it 13, you felt like, well, maybe they'll have a little bit of momentum going into the halftime break. Then North Carolina missed the shot before the half, and they tip it back in with a second left. So at that point, it's not feeling great, and they flashed the stat up there that no team has ever overcome a bigger deficit at halftime. I think the largest was Kentucky back in 1998. They were down 10 at the half, but they ended up winning by 9, so they outscored them by 19 in the second half, which, funny enough, Kansas ended up outscoring them by 18 in the second half, so pretty close between those two. And then it kind of, the second half, the moment that you kind of get ready to put your hand back in the peanut butter jar is when I think Christian Brown has the hot start to the half, and he gets it down to 9, but Carolina hits a 3. They go back up 12. It sticks at 12 for a few possessions. It's the Jalen Wilson and one. It was a 10-point game. He kind of gets the ball on the break. Brady Manick tries to take a charge. And I think if he was outside of the restricted arc, I don't know if they would have, if it would have been a charge or not, but I definitely know that college refs would have called it a charge if he was outside of the restricted area, but he was barely in that area, so it ends up being an and one. He hits the free throw after I think it was the under 16 timeout. At that point, it felt like they were kind of back. And from there, once they were back, they obviously kind of went back and forth. I thought once Kansas hit that little 9-0 run, Ochai Agbaji gets an and one to tie it at 50. Then you have the Remy Martin corner three, DeJuan Harris steal, Jalen Wilson another and one. I thought at that point it was actually going to be over. I thought at that point Kansas was going to kind of sprint to the finish line, but certainly ended up being a lot closer down the stretch.
You did something that is very fun for me because it's something we talked about back at the beginning of the show tonight, which is that I think you literally just mentioned every single player who took more than Mitch Lightfoot's 7 minutes. Now I've mentioned Mitch Lightfoot, so we're good. But the thing that was interesting to me from the beginning is I think you can go down the roster here and you can pinpoint a moment from everybody who played, and that's including, it's especially including Christian Braun, who, as you said, couldn't get anything in that first half. Just looked as out of sorts in the layup line as you could have ever seen him. Everybody ends up with one form of a good moment or another, which I think is awesome, particularly for Kansas fans who are going to get to remember this team through that exact lens forevermore.
Yeah, and I think it's really almost, a strong metaphor for kind of this season for KU. Like it really just has been a team effort. And it's kind of funny because I know Ochai Agbaji ended up winning Final Four MOP, and that, there's a lot of kind of discourse over that and should he have won it. And, I would have probably voted David McCormick, but there's, that's another story. Right. Basically, you look at, if you were to pick a game MVP, every game the rest of the way through the NCAA tournament, I don't know who would be in the first game against Texas Southern, and quite honestly, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
But the second game against Creighton, probably Remy Martin. Sweet 16 game against Providence, probably Remy Martin. Elite 8 game, you could probably pick Ochai Agbaji or David McCormick, or I don't know, maybe you even could pick Christian Braun or Jalen Wilson, who maybe is your other pick for the Providence game. Final Four game, it's Ochai or David McCormick. In the championship game, you could really pick between any of those second half performances or David McCormick. So it really was a team effort, and you don't always get that, I guess, in a college basketball at this stage of the season. That's not to say that everybody doesn't contribute, but it was very less of, if North Carolina would have won that game, it almost felt like it was carried on the back of Armando Bacot, who would have had 10 points, 20 rebounds, and Brady Manick just hitting a bunch of threes. Whereas this was very much kind of a team thing, and I think you look at some of the great teams that Bill Self has had. I don't even know if this is, a top 5, maybe even top. It probably is a top 10 team at Kansas. They won a title, but it's probably not top 5 if you're just looking at overall body of work. Certainly winning the title is the most important thing, and that's kind of just the perfect way for, I think, it all to end, that everybody kind of pitched into their own part, and that, this wasn't the most talented team that Bill Self has had, but they just all kind of locked into their role. As soon as they lost to TCU, from then on, they just kind of all locked in, figured it out, and they just kind of fit everything that Bill Self wanted. I mean, he mentioned multiple times, whether it was in the post game, whether it was before the game leading up to Final Four, about how this has been one of the most pleasant teams for him to coach, about how everybody has just bought in, and how he has had so much fun coaching this team. And I think that's kind of a perfect example of why.
Well, it's interesting also, I mean, like him mentioning that at several turns, and also kind of everybody ultimately finding their role. Maybe another part of it is, to your point about the different ways this can come together and throughout college basketball. Ochai Agbaji is the player of the year in the Big 12, but I never felt like he was as I called him earlier, a game taker over, which is my phrase. Please credit me anytime you use that incredibly eloquent term.
Scientific word.
Scientific, yeah. It's actually Latin. But you had him being like the guy, and David McCormick is obviously your big man, and then Remy Martin is like vibe king. But it wasn't like this team had the there was never a 1-4. It didn't feel like, because you could make the argument as much as you want to talk about how good Ochai was, especially throughout the entirety of the season. Like Christian Brown had some of those moments, and he's the one that will spit bad words at the bench, which makes me very happy every time I see it. I think that's interesting. I think it makes sense that would become a coaching job that Bill Self would enjoy and be rightfully proud of, because it wasn't just building around a block or two. You kind of had to get everybody to this level, and then they were able to perform in the biggest moments, which is obviously incredibly hard to do in a series of single elimination games.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like everybody had their own person. Tom and part of like the brain, or Christian was the kind of cocky and a little bit like arrogant, kind of towing that line side of things. Remy was like the flash, the kind of, that part of things. Jalen Wilson was kind of like the grinder the whole way through. Like you kind of had that all come together. And I thought it was interesting. Like I think there's two ways of describing this, kind of what you're saying with the game taker over thing. I think another way to put it, Brad Underwood, who now the Illinois head coach, when he was at Oklahoma State, 2017, they play Kansas, and Kansas beats them. Frank Mason goes on to win Player of the Year that year. He mentioned in the postgame, Brad Underwood did, that that guy just refused to let them lose, and that was the case for Frank Mason. And I know, rest in peace, Therese Paylor has coined it as the over my dead body game, like those types of things. And Ochai has had a couple of those this season, like the Texas Tech game that was in Lawrence. That was very much a over my dead body game. I'm not letting us lose this game. But as far as like moments, game to game, consistently, like that is more so Christian Brown than it is Ochai. Like Ochai is, you're consistent. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to, play well on both ends. I'm going to hustle, running up and down the floor. I'm going to hit shots at a consistent rate, but I'm not going to force it. Christian is the guy who, and that's what that was in the second half. I mean, he could not get anything to go in the first half. He comes out and steadies them in the second half, and it wasn't just that he was, it wasn't all like taking shots in the flow of the offense. It was getting the ball in transition and saying, no, I'm going to attack them. And then, like you said, it's always, I guess, fun, scary if you're in the front row, because it's like, you're going to see Shamu or something. I don't know if that's okay anymore, but yeah, if you go to see Shamu, like you're at risk of getting wet. If you're at a basketball game in the front row with Christian Brown, like you're at risk of getting yelled at.
You're at risk of being called generally some sort of derogatory term. Yeah, it makes me happy every time. This is something that I wanted to ask you about last week. You just ran out of time talking about all the specifics of the run that Katie was on and what was going to come next. But now we have all the time in the world. Bill Self isn't somebody who needed validation, right? This obviously isn't his first championship, although it's his first in a while, and we talked about some of this earlier, being the first Kansas coach to ever win two, being the guy right now amongst conversations about the greatest coach in basketball right now. He's probably a leader in the clubhouse, or maybe it's him or Jay Wright. A lot of this would have been true without Bill Self winning this game last night. But what are you seeing and hearing and feeling in terms of what step this takes for the legacy of Bill Self?
I mean, it does feel a little like if they would have beaten Duke, it would have very much felt like a passing of the torch from Coach K to Bill Self. Now, that's not the case anymore. There still are arguments to be had, I'm sure, whether it's Jay Wright or Bill Self is the best active coach. But I think that's kind of it. I mean, if you're looking at coaches who have two titles who are active now that Coach K is retiring, it's just Bill Self, Jay Wright, and Rick Pitino. And Rick Pitino's at Iona, so it's, that's not going to figure into the national title conversation, so you don't really have to worry about it as much. But him and Wright both have 4 Final Fours. When you look at, titles, it's 2 for both. They're 2-2 against each other in the NCAA tournament. So it's pretty even how they've done it. I wonder if this kind of unlocks, because we've seen this a lot, and my co-host Adam Dravetta brings this up all the time, that we see these legendary coaches, they'll rip off like a run. Like Krzyzewski, I think it was 7 Final Fours in 9 years in the 90s. In the case of Calipari, he had 4 straight Final Fours in the 2010s. Roy Williams, once he got to Carolina, wins 3 titles and goes to a couple other Final Fours. And we had yet to kind of see that for Bill Self, especially considering how many times he was knocking at the door with 1 seeds or getting to the Elite Eight. And it just makes you wonder if this is maybe the start of that or maybe the middle of that if you go back to 2018, and who knows what would have happened with 2020. But, yeah, if you're talking like legacy of who is the greatest coach in Kansas basketball history, I think you probably could have argued Bill Self even before this. But I think now it's not even a question. Like, he has to be the best coach of all time now in Kansas basketball history, which I know it's crazy to say when you have the inventor of the game, although he has the worst record of everyone, and you have Fogg Allen and Roy Williams and all these guys. But like you said, he's the only one with 2 titles. His regular season numbers, his conference championships, they already stood up to par, if not better, than all those other guys. So I think that's kind of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, it's interesting, and again, like I'm not looking at the list of all-time coaches with multiple national championships, and that entire list of 2s is slightly too long to read in a question to you, but not that long, not as long as you might think. Is there? I mean, you kind of. I feel like this is dangerous territory, but I feel like you're kind of looking ahead and saying, hey, again, 2020 is the one up in the air when you wonder. Now, look, I'm not the person that's gonna give KU an honorary title there, not because that team wasn't awesome, but because it is so hard to do what this team just did. And there's an example of there are several examples of that every single year. But I mean, are you kind of getting a Bill Self hot hand vibe right now? And then also, this is not where I want to be the day after national championship, but like, do you get nervous about the NCAA wrapping up investigations and snooping around throughout this period? Because it does seem like maybe Bill Self in a very short span goes from silencing any remaining doubters to establishing himself as one of the elite of the elite.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a worry that, all of a sudden the NCAA kind of kills the momentum off. But, like, if it's a 2 or 3 year ban, like that could be pretty costly. But if it's a 1 year ban and who knows, maybe they get off scot-free. I have no idea what's going to happen there. But let's say it's a 1 year postseason ban. I've mentioned this stat a couple times on our show leading up to the tournament and in the tournament. There's only been one of the last 19 defending champs. I think it's 20 now because Baylor, it happened to them this year too. So only one of the last 20 national champions even made it past the Sweet 16. And the only team who made it past the Sweet 16 was Florida, who won it all back-to-back years, which that never happens anymore. They returned their entire starting 5 from a title team. That never happens anymore. Everybody just goes pro. So it's really hard to, again, even make it past the Sweet 16. I'm not saying that you want the 1 year postseason ban or anything like that. Far from it. But if they were to get a 1 year postseason ban, I would almost view it as like, okay, well, who cares? And that kind of adds to the importance of that you won this year, because you are kind of staring down the barrel of that you don't really know what's going to happen. You don't know the future, but now you have the title no matter what happens. And this year wasn't part of the, investigation. So you're not at risk of losing anything out of it. So yeah, I think it's a lot easier to stomach. I've heard from a lot of Kansas fans that have kind of said, if we get a 1 or 2 year postseason ban now, I'm not going to be happy about it, but I don't really care anymore because we just won the title.
Yeah, I think that's an attitude that KU fans should have. I also, again, I feel like maybe I'm moving ahead now, and we're talking about this in the basking light of a national championship, so we can circle back on that in a second. But whenever you look at this roster in particular, I mean, there's some guys that will definitely be gone, but you've also got your COVID year eligibility, adding some things, and then also something that Rudy mentioned earlier. I mean, we are in the name, image, likeness era, and if you're a guy that might be a bubble first round NBA pick, or if you're kind of in that range or trying to establish your draft stock still, or maybe you want to make some more money as a national champion in Lawrence, like you have some real ways to do that now. Do you think that there's any chance of any surprises in terms of who could come back for another year? This is in a universe where nothing, I guess, NCAA notwithstanding, I would say. Is there any chance that there's something surprising in terms of who could be back?
Well, I mean, if David Booth wants to pony up $10 million somehow legally to Ochai Agbaji, then he may. But no, Ochai for sure gone. Obviously, all the seniors would be gone. David McCormick could come back if he wanted to, but he was a really smart kid. He graduated in 3 years. He's been working on his master's degree. I don't know what the status of that is, but point is he's going out on top. I think that dealing with the injury all year, he won't get drafted or anything, but he might just want to start a professional career, whether that's G League or Europe or whatever. And again, smart kids. He's going to have a future whenever he's done with basketball as well. So I would imagine he's gone. Christian Brown, I've heard that it's a very, very likely thing that he is gone, and I heard that even before the Final Four, to where, once you win the national championship, it becomes even more likely that he's probably going to be gone. But I also heard that, it's not a for sure thing in the same way that last year there were a lot of reports that, or, rumors, whispers, whatever you want to call them, that Ochai Agbaji was a for sure thing that he was gone. And that was kind of his idea going into the draft process, which makes sense because Bill Self tells his players, if you're going to go in the draft process, go in with the idea that you are going to go pro, so that you kind of approach it with a, jump all the way in the pool, cannonball in, as opposed to dipping your toes in. And so Ochai ended up coming back because he didn't hear what he wanted from the NBA, and he found out some things that he can improve, and he bet on himself. So it wouldn't be that unreasonable for Christian Brown to hear the same thing, like, hey, you're such a good shooter. Why aren't you shooting more? Or why don't you go back and be the star of the team and we can see even more what you are? And for him to hear that and say, okay, I'll go bet on myself. We know that he would be the type of guy that would go bet on himself. But I'd probably put it at a pretty low number that he comes back. The one that's more of a coin flip to me is Jalen Wilson. I think that it wouldn't surprise me if he wanted to go pro. He tested the waters last year. You just won a national championship again. Like, it's kind of hard to feel like you're going to get higher than that. But he just had such a bad shooting season, and it started off so slowly. And he really struggled in a lot of tournament games getting the shot going as well, that I think he's not going to love the feedback that he hears from NBA teams. They're going to tell him you need to go back and shoot, but he's going to have a good opportunity, because if he comes back and all those guys are gone, you're going to be the star of the team. You might be Big 12 preseason player of the year at that point. So I'm kind of leaning that he comes back, but again, it's impossible to know what, individuals want to do.
I selfishly would love to see another year of Christian Brown just becoming, he would be one of very few guys, I think, in the national landscape who would have a little bit of hype coming into the season, would probably see that grow throughout the season, and then by tournament time, he's a absolute, devil to, half the country. I just think that would be wonderful. But I understand if you've got NBA opportunities, he should take them. McCormick, I hadn't even considered till Rudy mentioned earlier, if you're David McCormick, you go back in this name, image, likeness era, and you're not going to be a draft pick, you might be able to make some money in Kansas to keep that one around. I don't know. That one was interesting to me, and and Jalen Wilson's also really interesting. But I would love to see the Christian Brown, continuing evolution throughout the college basketball national landscape. But it's also not surprising to me that it would make sense for him to go ahead and go pro with that opportunity. With that being said, let's talk about Christian Brown for a second, because I don't know what the expectations were for him coming into this season, but I'm interested in what you saw from the overall evolution of his game to the payoff of what we were able to see from him last night.
Wow. From his freshman season, just comes in as a pure shooter and a hustle guy. And then his sophomore year last year, he really struggled. He absolute dip in February and March. And so much so, literally a bulk of the offseason, KU brings in Remy Martin, Joe Yesufu, these athletic guards, thinking they wanted to kind of change up their play with smaller, quicker guards. The thought was, does KU start two guards next to each other, Remy Martin next to Joe Yesufu or Remy Martin next to DeJuan Harris? And if that happens, who gets taken out of the starting lineup? And one of the most popular names that came up in the offseason for a lot of people was Christian Brown. And, myself included, because we saw kind of the struggle at the end of the year. But then we quickly found out he is one of the best players on the team. And the transformation he made of being a player that could score on two-point baskets, on drives to the rim, on finishes through contact, in transition, on cuts, was absolutely remarkable. The three-point shooting is still there. There's a lot of times when he's such a good three-point shooter that you want him taking even more three-point shots, that he sometimes just kind of pump fakes, dribbles away, and kicks at somebody else. And instead of taking a good shot. He tries to find somebody else for a great shot, and it's not always there. But he has transformed so much in that ability, and he became one of the most deadly transition players in the country, and that's part of the reason why he's being looked at so fondly in the NBA, because it is going to be more of an up-and-down transition game.
Yeah, I think that is a great way to put it, and I think is so interesting, so exciting for what he could do at the next level. I just, I think he's a super interesting case, and as I've mentioned 14 times already tonight, I like a little snarky emotion coming through in those moments, and he's got that in addition to all of everything you just laid out there. With that all being said, before we let you go, I'm interested if there's anything you saw over the course of these last 24 hours or so. I guess 24 hours ago this game was tipping off, but over the last 22 hours or so, in what you've heard from Bill Self, in what you've heard from any of these guys, in what you've seen from Mass Street to the football stadium today, anything else from this stretch of time in and around Lawrence, Kansas?
Well, we had Chris Tehan who took the mic today, and this was great. We were airing all the coverage, Bill Self, and all the players talking in front of Memorial Stadium, and getting the crowd all hyped up. And then Chris Tehan just loves to drop an F-bomb on live radio. That was wonderful today.
We got that too.
Yep. Yep.
Now, fortunately, we did replay it to Lebo. Fortunately, little edit work, so on the replay we didn't have to worry about it. But yeah, we got that as well.
I love a live radio F-bomb as long as it's not my responsibility.
So I'll say a little story. When I was running the game last night, and obviously Christian Brown within 2 minutes, was sitting down with Brian Haney to do a quick, it lasted under a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, Brian Haney tells him, "Go celebrate your national champion," and he yells, Christian Brown yells, "Let's go!" But as he started to say "let's," I was like, "Oh no,
Here it comes!
Here it comes!
Here it comes!"
Well,
He didn't, though.
I'll tell you this. If you want to do some sleuthing, I don't remember which one, but one of the press conferences ahead of the Final Four, I believe, you can hear a hot mic situation in between questions, and you can probably guess which player it sounds like. But again, I can't confirm it, where you hear somebody whisper, and if you turn it up, you can hear it even better. Weak bleep question. So I'll let you figure that one out.
Derek, listen, I know you don't have to do this on the air. In fact, I don't want you to, but I feel like you and or Adam are in possession of that audio. And what is important to me is to know the question that preceded that moment and perhaps who asked it. And, no rush, but if you and or Adam would like to pass that along to me maybe tomorrow at some point, I would personally be very grateful.
We will see what we can do.
Derek, I appreciate it, man. Especially you jumping on with us as much as you did over the course of this tournament run. We will presumably not wait until March to talk to you again, but I really appreciate what you brought for us here during the course of this run, culminating in just about the most fun way possible, which is a hot mic moment and a national championship.
Appreciate it. Love coming on whenever. And I'm just curious if when you make a PB&J, do you stick your left hand in the jelly with the right hand in the peanut butter?
I usually use utensils, but the image of me just sitting on my kitchen floor, eating it like Winnie the Pooh, of course, just wearing a T-shirt, nothing else, as true to my Winnie the Pooh cosplay that I'm doing there, is a very powerful visual that I know none of us are going to be able to shake off for a very long time. Thanks, Derek.
Appreciate it.
The least you can do now is listen to Rock Chalk Sports Talk. That's weekdays 3 to 6 on KLWN in Lawrence. You can follow him on Twitter at DJohnsonRadio. Sorry about that mental image, everybody. I hope the last half hour of good KU talk made up for it.
Take the show with you wherever you go. Listen live on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app and 810WHB.com.
Hey, this is SSJ here to share some window wisdom with you. Straight from the experts at Window Nation. Spring brings some wild weather changes. On warm days, you want to ease open your windows, but on cold nights, you need to seal them up tight. If your old windows are sticking or drafty, they're not just a pain to operate, they're costing you money. Get your degree in savings during Window Nation's spring break sale. Get 2 free windows for every 2 you buy, for as many as you need, and make no down payment and pay no interest for 24 months. 2 full years, no payments. Just call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. They've installed over 1 million windows in over 125,000 homes, saving customers over $60 million in energy costs. Call Window Nation, 866-90NATION, or go to windownation.com. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, plus no payments and no interest for 24 months. Visit windownation.com now. Window Nation, the perfect fit.
Finding the right person for the job isn't easy. Just ask someone who hired a lounge singer to be their office receptionist.
Hello, this is Mickey Marquis, and you've reached the office of Doug & Associates. Thank you very much. Catch me Tuesday nights at the Hotel Johnson. Hello?
But if you've got an insurance question, you can always count on your local Geico agent. They can bundle your policies, which could save you hundreds.
Doug & Associates, this is Mickey Marquis. Hello?
For expert help with all your insurance needs, visit geico.com/local today.
And now it's Geico's Motorcycle Rules of the Road. Avoid biking in the rain and never touch another person's bike.
Hey guys, look at these bikes. So shiny. Whoops. I'm gonna leave a note. Oh gosh, there's more.
And the rule to saving on motorcycle insurance is, in 15 minutes, Geico could save you 15% or more.
Hey guys, it's Todd Lebo here, and spring has sprung in Kansas City. It's a perfect time to transform your home inside or out with fresh new color from my friends at CertaPro Painters. They've always done great work for me from beginning to end. They never disappoint. You can schedule a free estimate online right now at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. Don't delay. Their schedules fill up fast. Now, each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated, so they really are your local neighborhood painters. Log on right now to get your free estimate at CertaPro.com.
Are you losing your hair and feel like you don't know what to do? We are here to help you. Hi, I'm Dr. Spencer Egan with Acentus Hair Restoration. We can help you get your hair back using state-of-the-art robotic hair transplant technology. At Acentus Hair Restoration, we care about maintaining the hair you have and replacing the hair you've lost. Book your free consultation for a personalized plan and feel like you again. Call 913-914-5975 or visit kansascityhairtransplant.com.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Now, Beards, you did say slash and not plus. Are you only playing video games in either a hoodie or pajama pants?
I'll leave that to the imagination.
I would rather you leave less to my imagination. I would like less imagination in this segment. I've got Beards now getting out of a bath and then Winnie the Poohing while he's playing video games on the couch. This sucks. This is a stupid, bad show, and I hate it.
On Sports Radio 810, WHB.
After last segment, I went over to Tankathon to look at their NBA mock draft because I wanted to see just where some of these guys in question ended up here. Christian Brown's made it all the way up to 24.
Okay.
I was telling Rudy during the break, if I'm an NBA team with a early second round pick, and Christian Brown is there, if I'm an NBA general manager, someone would have to tackle me and take the phone out of my hand to keep me from calling Christian Brown and telling him that he's been the pick. But that's just because I like a toolsy guard with an attitude. I'm not that complicated, man. I'm simple.
A little scrappy.
A little scrappy, but he's also not. Scrappy usually means small.
For sure, yeah.
And Christian Brown's 6'7".
Sneaky athletic, that guy.
He really is. He really is. But I actually had the
not just a 3-point shooter.
Like I just want to compare him. I want to call him Tyler Hero minus the pomade.
Well, let's not get crazy.
Tyler
Hero is averaging 20 points per game this season.
I understand, but Christian Brown hasn't gotten his hair right yet.
Fair.
I'm just saying that I think that you want to talk about places where Christian Brown can continue to improve.
Instagram game.
That could continue. There's a chance. Hold on, I'm gonna.
Did he have an Instagram model with him in the bubble? Tyler Hero did.
I'm gonna continue.
Shouts to Tyler Hero.
Googling this to check
hero.
my notes. Tyler Hero is about like a year and a half older than Christian Brown.
Which is crazy because he's been in the NBA, it feels like, for a decade now.
It really does. Yeah, he was in the bubble.
Yeah, he was in the bubble. hero is in the bubble. He's having to spend $80 on a little thing of coffee from Jimmy Butler.
But the news I wanted to share with you, Rudy, from this tankathon check, I also forgot, and this also. Do you have I don't want to put you on the spot. If you made me do this, I would probably sound like an idiot. So if you just say, I don't know, I'll move on.
No, I've never sounded like an idiot on the radio.
Do you have a guess for Ochai has landed? Again, this is just a tankathon mock draft.
Right now, I feel like he's fringe lottery, so like 14 to 16.
14.
Nailed it.
I was worried about him looking like an idiot. I just feel like that's fluctuated, and maybe that's towards the high end as of late, I guess. But like for a senior, who has had some disappearing moments, you know.
I feel like there's a couple. There is a couple seniors every year that usually get into the lottery, but like one or two, it's rare. But I mean, Ochai's whole situation's rare because how often? I mean, I feel like I've seen a million times. Guy announces he's going pro, puts his name in there. He hears back what he needs to work on. He comes back and he is just the same player, right?
Right.
You see that 99% of the time. And Ochai, for the most part, like the NCAA tournament, it seemed like we got a little bit of the old Ochai, the Ochai that is a bit more passive, that kind of disappears a little bit. We didn't get that a lot throughout the regular season, but we saw that a little bit there. But like Ochai largely went into the draft process, was like, okay, this is what I need to work on, and then he did that.
Yep.
Like it was like the things I need to get better at, he got better at, and he showed that he is capable of doing it. Now, I don't think he's going to be a star at the next level or anything, but I think he's going to play 10 plus years in the league, and that's pretty freaking good.
And nobody's going to ask him to take over a game because he's going to be on a roster with other guys who deserve that spot.
He's going to be a super athletic 6'5" wing who can knock down open threes, and that's
really valuable.
You can play in the league a long time with that, man. And man, I've said this many times. There are specific positions that are better, right? Like backup NFL quarterback. The Chase Daniel is obviously the greatest in all sports.
Yes.
But there is not a more wide range of just if you're the 6th to 10th best player on an NBA roster making $10 million a year, right? Like NBA money is crazy.
Nuts.
Like nuts. For just the average NBA players, right? And even slightly below average NBA players just make dumb amount of money that the comparable player on an NFL or MLB or any other sport roster just doesn't get. Like you can just be okay and make $100 million in the NBA.
Yeah, just a contributor, an eighth man or something. You just stick around forever. And again, this is just a random tankathon mock draft, but in this one,
where do they have him going to?
14 is Charlotte.
Okay.
And I got really, I did for a second. And then I forgot that Devontae Graham's not there anymore. Because I had the idea for a second of Devontae Graham, Ochai Agbaji on the Kansas Hornets. That would be kind of fun. Devontae Graham's a Pelican.
Yeah. Where was Christian Brown going? He was 24. Right
24 is Dallas.
Okay.
Feels like it makes sense.
Yeah.
Just think that's a white guy thing, though.
Him and Luka.
I think I just think we're like, all right, there you go. It's just athletic white guy going to Luka's team.
Yeah.
Dirk was there first, I mean, it's just like, I don't know if that's what we're doing.
Oh, 100% what we're doing.
I mean, it's what we're doing. I don't know. I guess what I mean is I don't know if that's what the Mavericks are doing as a strategy.
Yeah, fair.
I did want to tell you, though, the Suns have no picks in the next draft, by the way. I did want to tell you.
Who they got the Nuggets taking?
I wanted to tell you who they had the Nuggets taking. 22 overall.
Okay. What I really want is I want a tall, athletic, kind of 3-and-D type of player, right? I want that 6'8" small forward. That's what I want.
The person they have the Nuggets taking is someone that you.
Oh, wait, no. I'll tell. Let me give you a specific name actually, because now I know who I want.
Your specific name.
Yeah. Now I forgot about this player, and now I realize I need this player because I just remembered him.
I think you're gonna get it.
There is a Serbian by the name of Nikola Jovic.
At 22 overall on Tankathon. Yes. He is a 6'10" small forward. His name sounds like Nikola Jokic as much as any name could sound like Nikola Jokic while not being Nikola Jokic.
They're the same nationality. They play at the same Serbian team. They are
Bega Mermax, which is that character from Big Hero 6, I think.
They are, and their name is Nikola Jokic and Nikola Jovic. I need this to happen.
I want this for you.
I need all I want on the Nuggets are Kentucky players and Serbian Nicolas. That last name start with a J.
With a Jovi?
Even if it's just a J, right? If it was Nikola Joker. I can live with that.
I now don't
Nikola Yankovic.
I don't think I can
don't know if
look
that's
at
Serbian.
Nikola Jovic's name and say the name of the MVP candidate. It's
Well,
like the
not
Christian.
MVP.
I said candidate. It's like the Christian Braun thing. The only time I get Christian Braun wrong is if I'm looking at it and it just reads as Brown. I don't think I could say the Joker's full name while looking at Nikola Jovic.
It actually would be really funny if we got a Nikola Joker because Nikola Jokic's nickname is Joker.
Does it like translate, or is that just? I know that's his nickname.
Yeah, that's just
okay. I thought you were going to tell me it like translates directly to
Joker.
Joker.
Just had another player from Serbia whose name was Nikola Joker, which is Jokic's nickname. Almost a Jovic.
I know it's hard.
Oh, it'd be so much fun, man. He's gonna win back-to-back MVPs. I can't wait for it. Let's tell him Beards this. Like, I'm never gonna see this team play in a finals, which is gonna be sad because they're so good, but there's just gonna be injuries and basketball's tough. But Jokic is going to win like 5 MVPs with the Nuggets, and I can just that's just what's going to fuel me as a fan.
Fans live off that all the time.
That. I'm gonna take it,
that's all right. Nikola Jovic and Nikola Jokic's names are one letter different.
Yep. You
got to have them. It'd be like if the Suns were able to draft somebody named Devin Blocker.
He was clearly named after Nikola Jokic, right?
Yeah, probably. He's 18, almost 19 years old. I'm sure he was named after Nikola Jokic, who at that time would have been 42.
Have you seen the baby pictures of Jokic?
No.
Legend, man. You should look at like when he was like 10, 11, I think. It just when you look at him as a kid to him now, which we got skinny Jokic now, but like the fact that guy, when you look at that kid,
yes,
and you're like, that kid is maybe the best player in the NBA. No, it just doesn't make sense.
In a couple of these pictures, he looks like my little brother whenever he was that age. It's just a kid.
And he's a big kid.
It's just kind of a chunky kid.
Yeah, he's the best player in the NBA.
Back-to-back MVP from Husky jeans to back-to-back MVPs.
Like he might.
The Nikola Jokic story.
I say might, but at this rate, it's definitely going to happen. When he retires, he'll have the most triple doubles in NBA history.
And he got drafted during a Taco Bell commercial.
In the second round, they didn't even show him. It was a Taco Bell.
ESPN was running a Taco Bell commercial, and on the bottom third, it says, Nikola Jokic, small forward, Serbia or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a quesarito. I just saw a screen cap of it again. There's a quesarito or something being like pulled apart. Just cheese everywhere.
He's the best player in the NBA.
Which is also what I imagine it looked like at his home as they were celebrating him being drafted. Just a quesarito. Just quesaritos ripped in half. Just cheese everywhere.
Yeah.
Speaking of questionable food takes, let's take a break now so we can come back and have some time to talk about the food takes of the day. I've got one that's going to make people angry. It's already made people angry. I've got a couple. Rudy's a picky eater. Intern Adele.
I don't think that's fair.
Whatever. You've got a food phobia.
I have one thing that I don't like. I just hate it.
Few jokes that I did. I mean, man, just like right on the edge of being funny or appropriate, but none of them being both. I don't know. It's always a disappointing way to go and everything. Oh, man, it feels like I should have a joke to follow up what you just said, but it doesn't really ever fully land. No, the only thing you don't like to eat is these L's. It's nothing. It's not funny.
You're not funny.
I know. That's the problem. Think about how good this show would be if I was.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page.
Hi, I'm Steve Hedgepeth with Quad Power Products. We know that time is money, and we pride ourselves in getting our customers back up and running quickly. At Quad Power Products, we can duplicate your hydraulic hose assemblies while you wait, in most cases getting you back out the door in 15 minutes or less. We have an excellent inventory of hydraulic hoses, quick couplers, and adapters, and we pair it with the best customer service. Come see us today, Quad Power Products on Hickman Mills Drive, just south of the Triangle in South Kansas City.
Hi there, Gary Giles with Giles' Jewelry. Everybody knows Giles' Jewelry is the place to buy an engagement ring. Thousands of diamond rings, quality second to nobody. Come on into Joslin, 95th and Antioch, right in front of the big Hy-Vee. Joslin's Jewelry. We're the jewelers you'll recommend to your friends and family.
Joslin's Jewelry for the best that's yet to come.
Hey, it's former Jayhawk Greg Gurley. Kansas fans and alumni are in every city and state we play. If your favorite Jayhawk fans are missing home, send them some Joe's KC Barbecue. Nothing beats home court and championship barbecue on game day. Joe's will ship anywhere in the U.S. It's easy to reheat, and it tastes just as good at home as it does at Joe's. You can ship all of Joe's favorites, like ribs, brisket, burn ends, and even the famous Z-Man. Ordering is easy, and it's just a few clicks away at joeskc.com.
The sun and warmth might mean more time on the golf course, bike trails, pickleball courts, or just in the backyard. And you should do your body a favor and visit the highly skilled practitioners at Stretch Zone, the leader in practitioner-assisted stretching. They'll help your muscle flexibility and decrease your joint stiffness. We all need to focus on our flexibility and mobility. Let Stretch Zone help you get started. Check out their 4 locations, soon to be 5, in the KC area at stretchzone.com.
Hi, I'm Fred Ramsey. And I'm Mark Tobin. Hey, folks, if you're not busy Saturday mornings from 6 to 7 a.m., well, I hope you'll join us for the Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet, St. Joe.
Join us and our expert guests, and we'll be talking about hunting and fishing, dog training. We'll give you tips, pass along stories, and most important, share some laughs along the way.
That's right. We cover it all, from crappie to waterfowl, and we'll tell you how to cook it, too.
The Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet, Saturday morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
The Burger Shed Restaurant is now hiring. Located off K10 and Ridgeview inside the Embassy Suites Hotel in Olathe. The Burger Shed is looking for servers, bartenders, hosts, and runners. Competitive wages and incentives available. Applicants can call Sean Hamilton at 913-353-9335 or stop by. More positions will be open soon when the patio opens this spring. Come apply today at the Burger Shed Restaurant, located off K10 and Ridgeview inside the Embassy Suites Hotel in Olathe.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Beards, I'm sorry for not inviting you to the taco thing.
There's no way Beards
You
likes
probably
tacos.
don't like tacos, and we didn't know that you were going to be back whenever that
That's
got
okay.
planned.
It's fine.
So.
Beards, you like tacos?
Not really.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
What about a fried chicken taco?
Take out the taco.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Seth Keysor in about 10 minutes. He got a food take today that got him in trouble. Somebody tweeted this out. They said, all right, everybody, give your most cancelable food take. The food take that you could provide that's going to get the entire internet to turn on you. I've thought about mine, so I'm going to give you mine, okay? I'm going to say 4 out of 5 times, if you give me these options, in my forms of fried chicken. I love fried chicken. I love it in all its forms. If I could only have it in my less preferred form, I would still eat that fried chicken. But 4 out of 5 times, if you say I have options of chicken with a bone in it, numerous bones in it, or boneless chicken, which come in the form of chicken strips / tenders / fingers, or boneless wings, which are basically nuggets. I'm not arguing that boneless wings are actually wings. Not the point. That's all really wonderful. It's like one of my favorite things. And generally, if I can, most of the time, if I can eat my chicken without wondering, is this a tendon or not? Are we playing crunchy fried bit or cartilage? I would rather not play that game. I will have my bone-free chicken most of the time. Getting the wings of the peanut, getting wings. Sometimes I go to Slim's. I like to get the 3 and 3 plate. It's got chicken strips and a few wings. It's all good. But if I go to a fried chicken place, it's like a bucket of chicken, you know? That's like their thing. I'll happily get the bucket of chicken with bones in it and all. But I think people get kind of pretentious on, generally on wings. I think people get kind of pretentious unnecessarily.
Especially with wings and not just like, a bucket of chicken, like with drumstick. The thing with wings is there's sauce on them. Here's my thing.
Yeah, the pre-sauce.
I don't like to get my hands dirty.
Yeah.
I like to use forks. And here's the thing. And maybe this is my crazy food take. When I eat fries, I prefer to eat fries with a fork. I know that might make me seem like a lunatic. I prefer to use utensils.
I don't know that she can see that I can see, but I could see intern Adele over your shoulder in the monitor there, and the look that she just gave you from that corner was like she is literally afraid that you might snap and that room might go up in smoke. Adele, if you want to come sit in the studio now, it's cold in here, but at least I eat my fries with my fingers.
And it's not that I've never eaten fries with fingers, right?
She's leaving. She's leaving. This room is 66 degrees. This is good. We got to give her. Just bring headphones with you.
Yeah. So if I go to,
it's 66 degrees in here, so you're really picking your poisons. Adele might not come back next time.
Let's say I got 5 guys, right? And I brought it here.
Sure.
I don't have utensils here necessarily, right? I'll eat it with my hands. Oh, you need headphones?
Yeah. She's on the way. She's on the way. Now you keep talking about your nonsense.
Right. It's not that I never eat fries without utensils. But if I have the option to use utensils, I would prefer to use utensils.
But even for things that are explicitly called finger foods.
If I can use a utensil, now here's the thing.
Using a utensil for a mozzarella stick?
Yes.
Oh boy, I don't know.
Mini taco?
I don't know.
Taco? Can't use a fork on a mini taco. Just goes right through the taco.
What about chopsticks? You get some chopsticks or some mini tacos.
I can't use chopsticks.
Get good at chopsticks.
I've tried so hard, man. I have spent so many hours trying to get good at chopsticks, and I can't figure it out.
Okay, well, intern Adele has fled Rudy, which is great because it just gives you a microphone, so this is fine. What is your worrisome, problematic food take that you were afraid to share on the radio, it seems?
Pizza.
Sorry, the mic was cut.
No,
I was
no. You know what?
Hey,
you know what, Rudy?
I apologize.
No, actually, turn it back off again. Did you just say the word pizza?
I did.
Okay.
Does this mean all pizza?
All pizza. I'm
pizza
not a
bites.
Pizza fan. It just doesn't fulfill me. I feel like I don't know.
Well, I mean, nothing fulfills me, and I don't.
Pizza's one of the few things that does fulfill me.
So
1 to 3.
Okay, we are going to have to unpack this now in the minute we have left. So, when you get pizza, or when you've had unfulfilling pizza, what kind of pizza are you getting? Is this like a thin crust pizza issue? Is it literally all pizza?
Actually, I prefer thin crust if I have to eat pizza.
If I have to eat, you spat that like we were going to say lima beans.
Yeah, my parents made me eat broccoli growing up. Ugh.
I can eat broccoli.
Broccoli's good. Yeah.
I mean, I like broccoli now, but
we've all grown up.
But kids don't, right? My parents forced you to eat the vegetables, right?
Their
parents forced her to eat pizza.
Right. Have you tried to trace this? Did you have a bad pizza at age 6 at one point, or what's your pizza story?
Okay. It was one of the first things I tried when I moved to the U.S. and it just, I don't know. I just didn't like it. I tried to eat it when I got older. Sometimes your taste palette changes.
I can respect
Not with
that.
pizza.
I imagine you've tried different kinds of pizza. I know that you're coming in with a pretty fully formed opinion. I'm just trying to understand better.
I tried Chicago deep dish, even in Chicago.
Yeah.
Didn't help.
Let's get her up to ill as her own.
I've tried pineapple pizza, chicken, sausage. None.
Okay, none of it. You just don't like it. Is it tomato sauce? What about tomato sauce on pizza or other Italian food?
Yes, I love tomato sauce, just not on pizza.
Well, okay, I'm just trying to identify melted cheese. Do you like melted cheese in other contexts?
Yes, I love pasta.
What about breadsticks? Okay.
On a good day.
Okay. There is just something about that specific combination of things you like.
No, it just does not go together.
Once it gets flat and baked, it's no good anymore. Okay, well, okay. No, I mean, nobody on Twitch has said anything about us firing you yet, and I'm frankly not sure if we have that kind of authority. So you can stick around. Rudy can eat his pizza with a fork. You can just not eat the pizza. What do you mean you've done it?
I have eaten pizza with a fork. I like utensils, Josh. We live in a society, for crying out loud.
I'm not so sure anymore. Adele doesn't like pizza, and you want to eat it with a fork. I think we're going to have Seth on trial next when he comes back to talk about steak not being that good, but I'm working with you two maniacs.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hi, this is Toby Tobin along with Jason Goodenkoff from Lewisburg, Florida and Lewisburg, Kansas. Hi, Jason.
Hello, Toby.
Jason, you have done it again.
Happy New Year to you. We did do it. It was...
On ESPN Plus.
Now it is time for very serious football talk with the man who hates money almost as much as he hates the idea of a healthy sleep schedule.
You will find Seth Keysor everywhere except for in his or your bed, because not only does he not sleep, he's also a faithful husband. So that's important.
The man who has so many children, his wife figured he wouldn't even notice if she bought a few chickens and ducks for the backyard.
We should have an episode where we just have my children appear on the show in ascending order. So we'll do like a minute of Lucas, then 2 minutes of Isabel, then 3 minutes of... Man, I have a lot of kids.
The man who does all of this while being a lawyer in a state that has snow all 12 months of the year.
Until it freezes, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I actually felt very at home driving through southern Iowa. It was snow everywhere, and people were slowing down to like 40. It was adorable. I was driving slowly, but I literally was hanging my head out the window screaming, and that was disconcerting.
It's Seth Keysor of the Chief in the North newsletter, The Athletic, and the Times Hours podcast on Almost Entirely Sports.
Yet another Seth Keysor Tuesday. I say that with joy, gratefulness in my heart, but I know it's also in Minnesota right now, where the beloved Seth Keysor makes his residence. I know it's also a snowy April day in Minnesota. So as grateful as I am that you're here with us right now, Seth, I'm also worried about you.
You know, there really are days when you live in Minnesota that you wake up, and it's usually, it's more of like a totality of the circumstances thing. My wife actually sent me a text that was just a GIF of someone going, hey man, you good? Like, because she checked Twitter and she saw the video that I'd made, which anytime you can do the sound of silence meme,
yes,
it's always a funny thing to do. And I feel like the cinematography was, really
well shot.
I thought it was beautifully shot.
Yeah, I did too.
Basically, here's what happened. It's been generally in the 40s here in beautiful northwest Minnesota, and most of the snow is gone. My wife and I went on a walk yesterday, and then I woke up this morning, there was already 5 inches of snow on the ground. And it was like that really heavy snow. Yeah. And then it kept snowing for a while. And this winter, so normally in Minnesota, in our part of the world, you get approximately 4 blizzards a year. Now, that's not snowfall. That's like blizzards like over 5 inches, give or take, right?
Yeah.
This year we've had now 13. And that's not including like, we got an inch of snow last night. And like, I mean, the amount of snow. Well, like, I sent you that picture from our office where, like, my office window is like 4 feet off the ground, and so I got up. I was gonna get up at 6 this morning and work out, and I looked out the window and I went back to bed until like 7:15.
Yeah.
And like, I gave legitimate consideration to calling in, saying I can't do it. I'm calling in depressed. Yeah.
I feel like we should all get those days, but you would use them you would have to save them all up for the same like 3-week stretch in Minnesota. I guess not really. It could be 3 different blizzards.
And one pretty much everyone would want to. And it's especially tough. This winter's been tough. It's been a really, really bad winter. I'm sorry, my colleague is doing some kind of TikTok dance outside of my window right now.
Excellent.
So she's in high spirits at least.
Clearly.
She got stuck on her way to work, actually.
On April 5th.
Yeah, she went into a ditch. She's okay. Yeah. No, that's what happens up here. And look, Minnesota is beautiful from late May to early mid-November. It's a beautiful place. The summers are terrific. But this winter's been tough because we went to Florida for like a full week and a half. And it's just getting longer and longer. We've already decided this next December, I've already gotten permission from my boss to take 13 days off. So like, I'm going to take like half the month of December off.
Good. That's the strategy. That's that Andy Reid postseason, like just 2 weeks in LA.
I'm getting out of here. And so it's tough though, because you leave and you do the Florida thing, and then you come back and you're like, I was standing, on an ocean beach 12 hours ago. And now it's, -10 and there's 3 feet of snow, and you're just like, huh. Now, I have no one to blame but myself. I've chosen to live here, but I really do. Everyone's very nice in Minnesota. I like small town living. My family's here. I'm saying many positive things to get me through the day. So that's a long road to a short thought of, no, I'm not okay, but thank you for asking.
Yeah, I just wanted to do you the courtesy of asking. Well, look, and here's what I've seen. I mean, apparently it's supposed to drop. This is not, me just rubbing great temperatures in your face. It's been beautiful the last couple of days, but it's supposed to drop into the 40s by midnight tonight here, apparently. I'm looking at the weather right now. And my main question and my hope for this apparent cold front that's going to make it down to us now is, do you have seasonal allergies in Minnesota, or do they just not start until like July? Because right now when I blow my nose, it hurts from the inside of my nose in a way that's unique to this year, to this spring. And I would rather have not a ton of snow on the ground, but I would rather have a little snow on the ground than not be able to trust my sinuses or my eyes or any other thing that happens in the spring for me.
Sure. We still get allergy season pretty bad up here, but it's just...
Why do you live there?
It's just in different times of the year. So it varies. Like when things start blooming, it's usually May where it's pretty rough. But I mean, look, people come from all over the world to Minnesota during the summer because Minnesota summers are beautiful and there's lakes everywhere and it's a lot of fun. And that's what I'm going to keep reminding myself.
Right,
Listen, dear listener, if you are not subscribing to the Chief of the North newsletter yet, you have the power to save me.
We're getting set to the equator, $12 at a time.
$12 at a time. I am getting my winter Florida house, and that's just the.
Think of everything Seth's given for you. Think back when you can get all of his content for free and you just stole it from him. Think about the episodes of this, the hours and hours of this show that we've just provided to you. Could you please go today for $12? You too could feed a starving. I would say early middle-aged man. I was gonna say middle-aged man. That felt unfair. No, I'm trying. Well, I don't know how old. How old should I say you are? Because you're not a young boy, and you're not an old man. What would you call yourself? Somewhere in the middle.
A man, Josh. Just a man.
If you two want to help this Minnesotan man move closer to the equator, $12 at a time. You can go subscribe to the newsletter at mnchiefsfan.substack.com. You'll see a price there that's a lot higher than $12 a year. I don't know why he's not just charging you that, but what you can do right now as a listener to this show, as a subscriber to the newsletter, you can go to bit.ly, that's bit.ly/Seth Really Hates Money. It's all one word, and for $12, you get a year of access. Now, what I have said as the devil on Seth's shoulder is, Seth, but listen, you can offer them that, but then after a year, make the price $120 a year. And Seth has said, no, I just will leave it at $12 forever if they lock in that rate. And I say, Seth, this is why you're so cold all the time. But he's doing it. So $12 a year, you can get that at mnchiefsfan.substack.com or bit.ly/Seth Really Hates Money.
Yes. And so, on the other hand, now that we've gotten people to feel sorry for me, and hopefully, have you subscribed, good listener? You're good? Okay. Now that you've subscribed, I also angered 8/10 of Twitter today.
Yeah. Good division for you to make on this radio station. Was that on purpose? Got 8/10.
Oh.
It's beautiful. You're a company man.
No, I just didn't want to say 9/10 because I'd like to think that I'm not that alone.
Yeah, you're not. You're with us here at 8/10. 8/10 WHB. So I wanted to ask you about this as well. And I will say, I'm not all the way with you because I'm going to let you make your own statement. But I want you to know this is a relatively friendly place, at least just talking to me. I can't speak for anybody listening, but there's a tweet going around today that says, all right, we're canceling people for their food takes today. What's your most objectionable hot food take? And you did get at some people.
They said, what is your most cancelable food take? And so I was just honest about it. Steak is not that good. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's not that good. There's multiple directions to go with this. Steak is not bad. I'm not saying it's terrible. I've had good steak. I've had steak that was hey, this is really good. I've also had really good baked potatoes. I've also had really good eggs. I've also had really good, the list could go on, right? Mm-hmm. And so immediately people on one of my favorite was someone quoted me and just said, just admit you don't know how to cook, Seth. And I was like, that's fair. Sure. And then someone else was like, just admit your dad didn't know how to make a steak. I was like, my dad's getting dragged today now because of my bad takes, which is fine. And that's fair. And fun, honestly. I enjoy it. But so here's the thing with steak. I had a bunch of people tell me, well, you're not making it right. Here's the deal. If it's a food that has to be done, because it's not like I've never had steak at a restaurant. It's not like I haven't had a $50 steak, which isn't that expensive a steak, I know. Mm-hmm. But it's okay. It's good. But if you have to cook something that perfectly, maybe it's just not that good. It's you didn't use the right seasonings. You didn't use it. Well, maybe it's just not that good then. It's like when people say that they like potatoes, right? Mm-hmm. No, you like sour cream, butter, bacon, chives, salt, pepper, maybe a little garlic, whatever, right? Yeah. And me describing that, now that sounds good.
But you're not gonna you're not gonna stick some tongs into a boiled or baked raw potato. You're just not raw, but a naked potato.
Yeah, you're not gonna go for it on a naked potato, which is a weird way of framing that.
No, it's nice. We needed a new liner from you. It's nice to know where it's gonna come from early in the segment.
So steak is fine, but to have it really good, it's got to be done perfectly. Mm-hmm. And honestly, really, really good steak, I'll take really, really good brisket all day.
Yeah.
I'll take really, really good pulled pork, a really, really good burger. And when you're not even in a top 3 of your class of food being meat, you can't be described as an elite food. And that's the thing. It's an average steak is not as good as an average burger. Because your average burger is easier to make and it's just tastier. It's more flavorful. And so I don't know. It's just not that good. I don't know. I mean, maybe I should have said I prefer caramel rolls to cinnamon rolls. Would that have bugged people too? I don't know. But I'm a big flavor guy.
That one bums me out a little bit. But you say caramel rolls? Because that sounds wonderful. I get defensive about cinnamon rolls. What's a caramel roll?
I like cinnamon rolls. I like cinnamon rolls a lot. Here's what I would say about cinnamon rolls. It's cinnamon rolls and caramel rolls. It's the same analysis as French toast and pancakes, okay? Cinnamon rolls have a higher floor. On your average cinnamon roll versus your average caramel roll, your cinnamon roll is going to be better. Caramel rolls have a higher ceiling, where like a really good caramel roll is just unbelievable. It's similar with pancakes and French toast. Your average French toast is better than your average pancakes, but really good pancakes are better than really good French toast.
My hottest take might actually be bleep pancakes, bleep French toast, waffles forever. That because I believe that one in my soul. I really do. I love waffles. It's not pancake or French toast fault. I just love waffles. I want to come back to the steak thing. Though.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say you and my wife would get along very well on that take. Jazz, anytime. Like she's still we graduated from the phase in our marriage where we don't stay in hotels that don't have a waffle maker. Like,
oh, dude, the hotel waffle maker is so clutch.
She gets so excited. And I can't remember the last time we stayed at a hotel that didn't have one. And it's not like we're wealthy, but like I'm in my late 30s now. I've been working hard for a while. I can afford a hotel with a waffle maker in it. I don't know what phase of wealth that is, but it's not wealthy. It's something.
Do you have a waffle maker?
We do.
Okay. All right. It's not. I'm not going to argue that it's the same because we also have a waffle maker and I love it. Yeah. But the hotel waffle it's just different.
I don't know what company universally sells that mix, but they really ought to have like a brand called Hotel Waffle Mix or something, and they would make, I don't want to exaggerate here, $100 quadrillion a year.
You might have to report back to me on this. You can just text me later. Does Jazz do the move where the waffle beeps, so you got to flip it back over to stop beeping? Should you just maybe leave it shut for another 15, 20, 30 seconds, get a little extra crisp on the outside?
She does, but that's more because she's irresponsible and she gets away with it because she's pretty. So that
worked for me too. So it sounds like Jazz and I have a lot in common.
You and Jazz do have a lot in common. It's a frightening thing. You get along. I have to say, since we're just saying stuff in today's show, you can tell it's kind of the doldrums of the off season right now.
Yeah.
You get along with my wife and my older sister way more than I'm comfortable with. These are just things that I know about my existence in my life. It's like, he is funny, hon. Yep, he's a funny guy. That's great. Do I need to hit him with something heavy in front of you? Like what are we doing here? But anyway, so no, the Jazz gets so excited, and every time I'm like, baby, I'm so happy for you, but like, there's been a waffle maker at every hotel we stayed at for the last 2 or 3 years. Like when we emerged from our we're poor chrysalis.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, I know you can't see me right now, but I don't think I've ever sat here while you've been talking and been more like in the congregation at a church that isn't repressed. Where I got my hands in the air, like, yes, Lord, like, yes, of course she gets excited when she sees the waffle maker in the hotel breakfast area, because that's the best part of any hotel ever. Like, she is speaking my language, you are translating it to me, and I appreciate that.
No, I hear you, and it is great. When you go to a hotel, I get more excited and we're not we're in between these phases of wealth. We're not the phase of wealth yet where we often stay at hotels with a good omelet bar. Like,
right? No, God, no. That's if you'd have to charge more than $12.
Yeah, that's like Joe Poznansky's Substack level of wealth there, which is really great, by the way. People should subscribe. He's a great writer, but
he's great.
But I mean, that's a different level. So when you see the omelet bar, you're like, holy crap! By the way, still subscribe to mine too. Don't don't pick him over me.
No.
But anyway,
no.
Yeah.
You mean maybe you can't get to the omelet bar either, but you could have a great inbox every day.
Yeah, you could have you're paying the price to not get the omelet bar. No, those
The Chief in the North newsletter is like the waffle iron of your inbox.
Yeah.
The hotel waffle maker of your inbox.
Yeah.
It's not always there, but boy, when it's there, it just changes your whole day. It starts in the morning and just all of a sudden you're walking on clouds all day.
I'd like to think so. Yeah, I usually try to post things in the morning. Like the Traylon Burks article that just went up this week that's available for everyone. Oh, I unlocked that, just so you know.
I'm aware.
Everyone can read it. But no, I'm happy to identify with you. I know you want to talk about the steak thing a little more.
Well, I just want to I'll follow your segue. I just want to give you this. So I really did spend some time thinking about how I could publicly support your steak thing, because one of the 5 best things I've ever eaten was something recently at a really nice steakhouse, and it was a couple steak medallions with a little lobster tail on top, I was not paying at this time.
Yeah, I was like,
if that wasn't evident. Yeah, this is not. I will buy your barbecue next time you're in town. That's not what we're talking about here. But it was unbelievable in a way that's hard to explain because I don't have anything to compare it to. But I think that when you say steak, everyone gets into that headspace of like, ooh, oh yes, a little treat. And if you're ordering it at Chili's or Applebee's or Outback or Red Lobster or somewhere or IHOP or whatever, like it does not elevate where you're eating just because it's a steak. In fact, most places shouldn't be making steaks like that. And if you're talking about, you're making it at home, out on the grill or whatever, I get it. But, I like burgers in that context too. I think steak has an elitistly inflated reputation that it frankly does not deserve. Because if I'm going to a sports bar, I wouldn't mention chain restaurants, but those are safe ones. If I go to a sports bar, like one that I like a lot, I'm thinking of a couple right now, but I'm not trying to either give free publicity or crush their steaks. I almost always think, oh, you know what? I'm going to get the burger here because the burger here is kind of special. The steak here is a meat slab. Yeah, that's all right. It's a meat slab.
And a lot of places really go all out on their burgers. And maybe it's because it's easier to make a really good burger. I don't know. And I think that's why it's a little more elitist. It's kind of like, it's really steak. You know what? Steak has got people in Stockholm Syndrome. They've gone through all this crap to try to make it good. And they're like, well, I got to figure out a way to justify this, this annoying last hour and a half of my life. I don't know how long it takes to make a steak. That was probably a stupid thing to say, but I don't care.
That you might be overcooking your steaks, but I get it.
Yeah, I think we've discovered the problem. I'm eating hockey.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. Yeah.
I mean, but people are just like, I've got to somehow justify the fact that this cost me, this Wagyu Japanese steak cost me $50 a pound. And it took me forever to make it. Wow, man, this better be the best meal of my life. Where you could have just gone to Joe's and gotten a Z-Man for $8.
Oh, are you kidding me? These rich coastal elites, Seth, here's the other part of it. They say, oh, I love steak. I agree. Well, yeah, it's because their steak cost $120 or whatever and had lobster on top of it. That's why they love steak so much. They're not eating your steak in real America in an Applebee's.
They're eating lobster-fed beef that, it's like, that's literally never had to move. It's been floated around on the pasture as the lobster.
It's lived in a swimming pool just eating wild raised lobster.
Yep. It's just disgusting, let me tell you. And so maybe that's it. Maybe if I had some of that, I'll be honest. If someone came up to me and said this was lobster-fed beef, I'd eat that. I'd see what that tasted like.
Yeah, of course. It's like one of those birds that you have to cover. You have to eat its bones, and so you have to put a sheet over your head so God doesn't see it.
Yeah.
That specific bird thing is usually that's a Rudy reference. That's come up on this show. I would say no less than half a dozen times.
You have got to watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine. There is a joke about that bird several times.
Okay.
And all right. We'll get there.
I gotta watch it. Well, I'm glad that we covered all this ground. This felt like a good, early April, not quite heated draft season. Just needed to talk a little bit. I feel good about this. I'll follow you to draft season. We'll circle back on your Brett Veach stuff, and I really do want to talk about Ronald Jones for the second consecutive week with you.
I'd love to.
But you have your first wide receiver draft crush breakdown. Treylon Burks up in the newsletter. It's unlocked for everybody. So if you're really thinking hey guys, $12 a year, I get it. It's not very much. That's 1/10 of a great steak. Then you want to read it for yourself. This is the time to do it. I don't know how much of the specifics you want to get into here on Burks. What I will say is about halfway through, maybe a little bit less, somewhere around halfway through, I realized, I'm really going to find out right now if I have read a lot of Seth's work over the last several years, because I think I know where this is going. And it's not what I was expecting, but by the end, it made a very clear case to me that you had a unique takeaway on Treylon Burks for part 1 of the Draft Crush series.
I am so excited to get started with the Know Your Draft Crush series. It was really, really good to start to dive into some new film. Because I've had a little luck with redacted, I've been able to come up with some college all-22 film, which is new for me this year, which is great. And so I figured I'd start with Treylon Burks because I was only going to always do one receiver with the first article. And the Know Your Draft Crush series for people that maybe didn't subscribe last year or are new subscribers, whatever. It's just basically I try to look at a position that the Chiefs are likely to take. Everyone right now thinks they'll take a receiver. It's assuming they don't trade for like Scary Terry or something like that, which, by the way, totally should trade for Terry McLaurin if he's available. But that's a whole nother ball of wax that we can talk about later.
That came up on a recent episode of Time's Ours, a Kansas City Chiefs podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts.
And Nate said some stuff that was like
things.
He was like, fellas. And so that when Nate says stuff, Nate does not guess. So that's just interesting to me. But anyway, assuming they don't do something like that, maybe the Commanders don't make the price what the Chiefs want, whatever, right? They're going to take a receiver in the first round if they don't trade for a guy. I mean, it feels like set in stone. And honestly, even if they traded for a guy, I wouldn't blame them if they did because Juju's on a 1-year deal. MVS is on a 2-year deal, really. So anyway, what I try to do is I try to take a look at multiple prospects, looking at the same traits for all prospects, trying to figure out how they would fit in, where I would take them in the draft. And so I just kind of walked through that methodology a little bit. And I started with Treylon Burks, not because he's my favorite. 1, alphabetical, Burks. 2, I've had a ton of people ask me about him because he's kind of a controversial dude now. My understanding, and I don't pay attention to this stuff, I don't know anything about draft Twitter, barely. Like, I follow people that care about it, and I follow people that are part of draft Twitter. I just don't pay much attention to it because I don't watch college ball. I just don't have time to follow 2 sports. I just don't. Anyway, my understanding is that coming into the season, people were like, oh yeah, Treylon Burks is like wide receiver 1. And he had a good year, but he had apparently a terrible combine. Not much better pro day. So a bunch of people are asking about him. He's kind of controversial. And I didn't think it was fair to people to do Jamison Williams first. Because I've watched some of Jamison Williams, and I can already tell I'm going to love that dude's tape. Unless his tape is wildly different. I've watched 2 videos of like full games from him, but not all 22. Unless those are wildly different, I'm going to come away saying, yeah, if they traded up for Williams, I wouldn't even be upset. Like, depending on what they gave up, right? Like, don't give up both firsts to do it. But
right.
So Treylon Burks was first, and so I took you by surprise, man. All these years later, I'm still surprising you.
Yeah. See, it's again something else that your wife and I have in common, I guess.
That's nice. So that threw me. So with Burks, I didn't really know what to expect going in because, again, I don't follow college ball, which honestly, this time of year, I feel like is a weapon. Like, I think it's an advantage because I don't know what people think of Burks. I don't. Like, I don't know if he's considered wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 10 at this point. I don't know, and I don't really care. I just know what I think. And my ultimate takeaway from him, and I wrote about what I'm looking at for receivers is speed / acceleration / agility. And the reason I'm slashing those things is because those are different things, right?
Right.
Chris Conley has speed. He has no agility. His agility is 0 on Madden. Acceleration, it's a little better, but he didn't have a ton of that either. That just wasn't his thing. Top speed, the man could cook. But he didn't have a lot of acceleration and had no agility. Those are different things. What made Tyreek Hill so special is that he had incredible agility and incredible speed and incredible acceleration. Not everyone has all those things. Mecole Hardman has incredible speed, has really, really, really good acceleration, but he doesn't have great agility, like stop-start. So that's, those things are different. I look at hands and how people are at the catch point, how comfortable they are with contact, route running, other things related to playing wide receiver that I'm not remembering off the top of my head because I don't have the article in front of me. But basically, there's about 5 or 6 different facets of playing the position, yards after catch, like just trying to figure out how do they fit in. And with Burks, he's an interesting guy because he's limited, but he's limited in some ways that don't limit him from winning consistently. Yeah. And that's a weird guy to watch.
So let me tell you exactly what it was that surprised me. And it's not, your takeaway wasn't surprising, because I also, at this point, like, My draft experience, usually I watch a little college football, but that's a largely local thing also. Like that's, the local teams.
Yeah.
I'm not watching a ton of Arkansas ball. So what was surprising to me is that I've heard Treylon Burks' name a lot. I've seen him mocked to the Chiefs plenty of times. And I feel like within, I don't know, like 4 paragraphs of your actual evaluation of Treylon Burks, I was like, oh, Seth's out, and Treylon Burks might be a guy somewhere, but it's not going to be here because this doesn't check like any of the Chiefs' boxes. Now, I have to make the point that the type of receiver the Chiefs appear to be targeting right now is changing. Like, I don't think either of us think they're going to try to find a replacement for Tyreek Hill, because I think trying to do that is probably pretty foolish. But whenever you start going through like, well, he's not that athletic, but in this circumstance, he can get around that. Like, oh, that's not 29-30. It's certainly not 22-24 or whatever if they were going to try to move up for one of these guys. Whenever you look at the speed, acceleration, and agility, and you just don't have that many nice things to say until you get to how does he win without those things, I got very cooled off very quickly for a guy that I just frankly hadn't spent a lot of time watching yet.
Yeah, and that's tough. So when you have a guy, and with Burks, it's agility. Mm-hmm. Does he lack as much agility as Chris Conley? No. One problem is we don't really know how much agility he has, because his role in Arkansas's offense, their offense was not. They had him, running out of the slot, running a pretty limited route tree. Not that running out of the slot's a bad thing, but it doesn't always have the full route tree from there. They had him in the backfield. They had him, doing jet sweep actions and, quick routes. Like, they don't really tell you what he can do. He did have a few multi-level and multi-move routes where you're like, huh. Like, you feel like you see a little something there. But he's not a quick player. And that came through in his testing, from what I'm told. Our friend Ryan Tracy does the athletic matrix, right? Like the functional athleticism stuff. And he's much smarter than us. That's not really it's not a controversial statement.
He can probably cook a steak too, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm sure he can. Ryan's a very manly guy. And so he could probably cook a mean steak. But Burke's testing was very low in a lot of like explosion, even long speed, that kind of stuff. So when you watch Burks, he's just not that athletic a player. And it's unusual for a receiver to be a high-level receiver without at least being a good athlete at the position, right? Or even an average athlete at the position. And I would argue that Treylon Burks, in terms of agility, is not an average athlete at the position. His top speed's fine, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what you'll see, like some tweets making the rounds of him running away from defensive backs once they're in the open field. Yeah. If he has 2 or 3 steps to gear up, he can do that. But how often is that going to happen? Now, here's the interesting thing. With his skill set, pretty often in college. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. So I'm not making a comparison as to the player, okay? But Jamar Chase's success in the NFL, his immediate success as a screw you, the ball's in the air and I'm going to get it guy.
Yep.
Made me rethink my previous considerations about how a guy can win. Now, Chase is a better athlete than Burks, and it's not. Right. It's not that close. But some of those like 50-50 balls that he turns into like a 90-10 ball, I can see Treylon Burks doing that. Because he has some snaps where it's basically like the quarterback really does do the bleep it Treylon down there somewhere, and Treylon's like, okay, and then he just grabs it and just manhandles defenders. That's fun to watch, and that is a skill that can succeed in the NFL level. But man, when you're betting on a below average athlete and you're hoping that the quickness issues in college aren't even more magnified in the pros, that's a big bet, right? Like you're hoping, okay, we're going to hope he becomes a technician like a DeAndre Hopkins. That's a bet. That's a bet you're making. And here's the deal. If he does that, he's going to be a beast. But that's a risk.
Yeah. You're talking about draft crushes. I'm ready to fall in love. Like, I'm looking for love out here. And I I don't know. I'll be interested to see as the process progresses. I guess what I was trying to say.
Oh, yeah.
If you're left out on an island on this one, if you're the hater. But here's the thing for me, like if you called some prospect out of college a less athletic Superman himself, I would take that as an insult of like a less athletic because Jamar Chase. Would not say this that the clips reminded me of Jamar Chase a ton, but some of the like point of the catch and being able to win those passes that maybe you shouldn't be winning. I whipped through this, and I kid you not, like I thought, that's maybe there's a Jamar Chase path there. But doing that as a lesser athlete just seems like it makes all of that harder and more unlikely. If you're talking about, and again, Treylon Burks will not be here in the 4th or 5th round.
No.
But if you're making that argument on behalf of Cornell Powell or on some guy that goes in the 4th or the 5th, cool, man. Yeah, sure, that's fine. Although even then, I think I'd rather take the under-refined super athlete than the professional wide receiver who doesn't have that many unique traits. And in this case, I mean, another thought I had was, can he do it at the pro level? He's doing it against Alabama. Like, he's doing it in the SEC here. Like, there is some good high levels of competition. You ended up using the word overwhelmed if he ended up being the pick in the first, and I also picked up underwhelmed. I'm sorry. Did I say overwhelmed?
You did.
I meant underwhelmed.
That's okay.
I want to be overwhelmed about a receiver being drafted in the first round by this team. This would, I could see it, but it's not the bet that I would make, and I'm guessing that as you do more, it won't be the bet you would make either.
And it's not a guy that I would take in the first round. What I wrote is, with one of those second-round picks, because it's at the end of the second, I'd consider it, and part of that is because he's a very different receiver than who the Chiefs have. And I really think that he could maybe add a lot to their offense, and I don't value second-round picks the way other people do. Because the high-end Burks is a really, really, really valuable player. And because of the way he wins is so unique and hard to get consistently, because there's big dudes, but there's not a lot of big dudes that track and adjust to the ball really well. Because he has like really good body control with the ball in the air. He adjusts to it really well and can bring in the ball almost regardless of what angle it's coming from, whether he's got to change the angle, his body as the ball comes in. It's cool, and he's got strong hands to snatch the ball out of the air. He also does a really good job cradling the ball and having it come in and even like trapping it into his body rather than trapping it from his body, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, so he's got some traits. That's why, like, where you can see like why someone might take the risk on him, because he's a super physical runner too. Like, he's not a dude, like if you're like this, 5'10", 195-pound corner, like you do not want this dude to catch the ball in front of you because he will try to hurt you. And it's funny. Right. And those high-level traits are harder to find than a fast, quick guy. Those guys are everywhere. Those guys with, hands that are okay but not great, kind of body catchers, those are hard traits to find. And so if he booms, you have a rare type of receiver. It's just, I think there's a bust possibility there that would take out the first round for me entirely.
I want to talk about Ronald Jones so bad because the takeaway that you ended up with here is something that I've been enticed by.
Yes.
We talked about it very briefly after we let you go last week, because we don't have to go trait by trait, but I'm going to try to give you a summary and you tell me what else you think is noteworthy. You talk about some of the the speed that he does and doesn't have, and some of the stuff he doesn't have, but ultimately he makes the most sense through your eyes. As they're letting Darrell Williams walk, it seems, and you go, okay, well that one guy in, one guy out, but Darrell Williams, much to our surprise every step along the way, I believe, ended up basically being the Chiefs' third down back.
Mm-hmm.
He found a pass catching ability that I don't think he was ever necessarily believed to have, but they trusted him in pass pro, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire became kind of a first and second down guy, despite everybody thinking that he was going to be a third down back, or not exclusively, but a guy that would thrive on third downs in this Chiefs offense. Well, Ronald Jones gets here, and you look at him and say, this is a guy who I'm perfectly happy to have out here toting the rock on first and second down, but he is not only no sort of noteworthy pass catcher, but an absolute liability in pass protection. This is all, you can correct me if I paraphrase you wrong in any of this. So that on itself is kind of interesting, but like, you know, you get a nice little first 2 down back, that's fine. But then what does that mean for Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Do the Chiefs think that he still can be a 3rd down back in year 3? Like, is there something there that they're going to let him finally do? I can't remember how they acquired Clyde Edwards-Helaire because that's not the point here. But is that in a number of assets they were comfortable sinking in on a guy that's going to end up being a third round or 3rd down back? I think that the puzzle pieces not seeming to logically fit together here is super interesting. But I also I kind of like Ronald Jones a little bit. Whenever I talk about how I feel about the running back position, people forget that I do, in fact, really enjoy running backs, and I think Ronald Jones could be a fun one. So there's my big picture sort of summary on stuff you don't have to repeat. Anything else get you going there?
No, I think you summed it up pretty well, especially the weirdness of it all. I mean,
yeah,
Clyde has been their 1st and 2nd down back, and as much as I've kicked and screamed about it and talked about his ability on downfield routes and all the things that he showed he could do in college that they are just not having him do in the pros. And who knows, maybe I'm missing something in practice because we're going into year 3, like you said. And if he hasn't shown it in the pros, although when they've had him run down the field routes, he looks good at it. And it's driving me crazy. I genuinely, the Clyde Edwards-Helaire and then the Dan Sorensen over Juan Thornhill and then the Ben Neiman over Willie Gay Jr. thing, I felt like I was being gaslit last year. I really did. Like, I was rewatching snaps, like, and I feel like I was like, I could like hear the team whispering in my ear, you know, those snaps don't actually look better. It's like, but they do look better. They look so much better. No, he's more intelligent. But he's biting on more play fakes. Like, what am I seeing? What am I not seeing here? We can't trust Willie Gay Jr. in coverage. But he's awesome in coverage. Like, what? Like, I mean, okay, awesome. He's not Kuechly, but he's really good at it. And so, anyway, I'm sorry. That's just like...
No,
I was like...
happy to be here for
I'm like trying to figure out, like, do I genuinely just not know anything? Because I'm willing to, you know, cop to that. But I talk to people I respect. I'm like, okay, what am I not seeing on, you know, with this player? And with those 3 situations, the answers I'm getting are like shrugs. They're like, I don't know. They might see something in practice. I'm like, yeah, but what about the game? Like, I don't know. So that's weird that after 2 years of gaslighting us like that, now they're going to be like, you know what? He might be a really good 3rd down back. And like, maybe they didn't trust him yet with pass pro stuff. Maybe that really has taken 2 years for him to earn trust there because he's not as good as Darrell Williams at that. But like,
I'm getting choked up just thinking about how hard this has been for you.
I'm holding back yawns because I'm like traumatized from it all, and I yawn.
I get
to
it.
cope. I bore myself too, but that's a whole nother ball of wax. I think it just doesn't make sense to bring on Ronald Jones as a 3rd down back, because he's not a plus receiver at all. He does not run good routes, and he's a liability in pass protection. At least he was last year, Tampa Bay. Good runner though, like genuinely good runner. Can do the outside zone stuff that the Chiefs struggled with last year. That's important. He's got a little bit of burst to him. He fights for extra yardage, pretty decent vision, cuts back well, can run between the tackles well. He's a good runner of the football. He's just not a 3rd down back. So I assume they're switching Clyde to that, and I don't understand it. Like, it would have made way more sense for them to go grab like Gio Bernard or someone. You know what I mean? Like a 3rd down back. Or just keep Darrell Williams.
Darrell Williams, right?
Like, whatever. Yeah. And there's a reason Williams tweeted after he saw they signed Jones. It's just like, all right. So I'm curious what that looks like. The Chiefs obviously think they have something there. It's just, like many decisions they've made lately, it's just different than what I'm expecting. And I'm willing to reserve judgment till I see it on the field. But I'm going to be a little perturbed if, like, they've got, like, Clyde and Ronald Jones on a rotation on 1st and 2nd down, and, like, you know, Derek Gore's the 3rd down back, and then you're like, okay, at this point, maybe you should have just drafted a dude in the 4th round and just said, hey, we missed on a pick. So we'll see.
If I gave you total control, you know, I was going to say forget the last 2 seasons. I don't mean forget the information you've learned, but forget what the Chiefs have done. If I was giving you Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Ronald Jones and Derek Gore, and then your chance of either, or even, I mean, at the beginning of this offseason, you said you're surprised because we talked about Jerick McKinnon and Darrell Williams again. what would your like ideal situation for that running back rotation look like? Not what you think the Chiefs have done or should do, but from what you know about those guys.
From what I know about those guys, I would give Edwards-Helaire probably about 60 to 65% of the snaps. So all third down snaps and a fair number of first and second down snaps. And then I would give Ronald Jones, like rotate out drives, that type of thing where he's on the field first, second down. That's what I would do. I think Jones is a good runner. I think Clyde is a better overall player. And I know like Chiefs fans have really cooled on Clyde. I personally don't like some of the way he's been used, but he has shown some limitations as a runner in terms of, getting to the edge. But when they had him running between the tackles this last season, he looked very good at it. And then they were just like, wow, we've done that 2 plays in a row and it worked. So now we will throw the ball 17 plays in a row. And you and me are not like, we're not like, oh, I got to run the ball to win. That is not it. Right. But it's also like, hey, okay, yeah, we ran duo twice and we gained 6 yards a pop. What if we ran some outside zone? It's like, but why? Why would you do that? And so that's what I would do. I would give Clyde probably more snaps, but that's mostly because the Chiefs are more of a passing team.
It seems like what you just said, though, there's a chance that they might just do that. Because it was give Clyde all the third down snaps and then, well, I don't know what the math would be, but 30 or 40% of first and second down snaps and then give most of the rest of those to Ronald Jones. Like, they could do that. It would just be weird in the context of how they've used Clyde these last couple of years.
So weird. And honestly, like, let's say this year, they do that role for Clyde, right? Let's say he suddenly catches, 80 passes and makes some clutch plays. And then, your mentions after 2 full years of struggles and not much of an impact, your mentions would just become chaos. And
they already are.
That's
they
fair.
Already are, man.
And here's the thing for me that would kind of bug me would be, okay, that's great. Like, yeah, great. You figured it out with a player. How did it take this long?
For the most obvious answer, too, right? It's not like it's not like they figured it out because they tried, I don't know, DeAnthony Thomas at 4 different positions and then found out that actually he's a safety. Like, it's not the Traymon Smith experience, right? It's like, well, everyone thought this was the answer.
Yeah, this is like what everyone thought the not even what the answer was. This is what everyone thought the plan was. When they drafted him, everyone was like, and that was my thing, was like, I wouldn't have drafted a running back, but I get why it was him if they're going to do it. And then they used him identically to as if he were Jonathan Taylor. It's like, well, why not just draft Jonathan Taylor then? It makes no sense to me. And I do think, I wonder if some of his long speed physical limitations have been a bit more pronounced at the second level. And there's just sometimes no way to anticipate that. Because sometimes you get guys that people think have speed issues and they just play just a little bit faster. And Nick Bolton was going to be too slow, and then he played really well as a rookie. And so I get that. There's unpredictability to it. But maybe that's part of why you don't always take the risk at that position in the first round, too.
That doesn't sound like it. If you want to read what Seth would do for the rest of the offseason, go check out If I Were Brett Veach, Part 5, how the Chiefs can reset and reload, and a couple positions of very clear need. Honestly, Seth, I think we'll probably be able to talk about most of those moves again next week because it doesn't seem like there's a huge rush right now. The draft's still a little ways away. If you want to hear more of Seth's voice, you can do that with myself and one other person on the Times Ours podcast on The Athletic. You can search for Times Ours wherever you get your podcast. Check out the Chief of the North newsletter, again, mnchiefsfan.substack.com or bit.ly/Seth Really Hates Money to get $12 for a year of access for that rate to be your permanent rate, unless I find a way to get Seth to get off his high horse, which seems really unlikely. Thanks, Seth.
Thanks for having me.
Take the show with you wherever you go. Listen live on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app and 810WHB.com.
Tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the next generation of drivers, where titanium ends and the carbon age begins. Introducing the new Stealth Carbonwood driver from TaylorMade, with 60 layers of carbon twist-based technology designed for better energy transfer and faster ball speeds. Come into Edwin Watts Golf Shops and get custom fit today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops is home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, or shop us online at Worldwide Golf Shops. MainStreetPreowned.com.
With their first pick in the draft, Kansas City selects MainStreetPreowned.com. MainStreetPreowned.com is the easy choice. Centrally located right on Main Street in Kansas City, MainStreetPreowned.com has over 500 used cars in stock right now. All makes, all models 2014 and newer. MainStreetPreowned.com. And if you're looking for something you don't see, ask about their special concierge program. Main Street knows how to find the great car deals you're looking for. There are no draft busts at Main Street. Find your best deal on a new used car, truck, or SUV at MainStreetPreowned.com.
As an employer, are you having a hard time finding great people for your company? Let Sports Radio 810 help you with your search. Many local companies are taking advantage of the 810 Jobs Connection program. Recruitment is tough right now. The online search engines are packed with all your competitors. Sports Radio 810 Job Connections is a turnkey program designed to help you find your next hire. For more information, contact Sandy Cohen at scohen@unionbroadcasting.com. That's scohen@unionbroadcasting.com.
Save 11% off everything at Menards. Whether you're building a fence to protect your children, pets, or adding curb appeal, Easy Fence by Spec Rail does the job. Constructed of durable aluminum, it will ensure lasting beauty without ever rusting. Use the free fencing estimator to get instant pricing available on Menards.com and at the store. Save 11% on your entire project. Good through April 9th. Savings or mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Hi, I'm Fred Ramsey. And I'm Mark Tobin. Hey, folks, if you're not busy Saturday mornings from 6 to 7 a.m., well, I hope you'll join us for the Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet St. Joe.
Join us and our expert guests, and we'll be talking about hunting and fishing, dog training. We'll give you tips, pass along stories, and most important, share some laughs along the way.
That's right. We cover it all, from crappie to waterfowl, and we'll tell you how to cook it, too.
The Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet, Saturday morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Are vehicle shortages preventing your company from growing? Rent your way out of it. City Rent-A-Truck has a wide selection of pickups, flatbeds, and cargo vans that are ready to be put to work when you need them. Stop turning away business because you can't buy new vehicles. Flexible rental options will allow you to supplement your fleet in the short term, so your operation doesn't miss a beat. You can request an online quote at cityrent-a-truck.com or call a representative at any of their 3 KC Metro locations.
Hi there, Gary Giles with Giles Jewelry. Everybody knows Giles Jewelry is the place to buy an engagement ring. Thousands of diamond rings, quality second to nobody. Come on into Joslin, 95th and Antioch, right in front of the big high V. Joslin's Jewelry. We're the jewelers you'll recommend to your friends and family.
Joslin's Jewelry for the best that's yet to come.
Over 35 years ago, Wholesale Batteries opened their doors and sold their first battery. Times have changed, but their commitment to customer service is the same. The commitment they made back in 1977 stays true today. Wholesale Battery is one of the largest distributors of motorcycle batteries in the country. Stop in for anything you need for your motorcycle. They also have you taken care of for all your lawnmower needs, laptops, ATVs, power sports, computer backups, cell phones, portable electronics. When it comes to batteries, these guys have it all. Call 913-342-0113 or at wholesalebatteries.net. The right battery the first time.
My heart was racing just making spaghetti. I could have waited to tell my doctor, but I didn't wait.
I was short of breath just reading a book. I could have delayed telling my doctor, but I didn't wait.
They told their doctors and found out they have atrial fibrillation, a condition which makes it about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. If you have one or more of these symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness, this is no time to wait. Contact your doctor.
Brought to you by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Gary, can you make sure Ada's cleaned up?
Restaurant Week has Sanjay's tables jam-packed.
Can somebody please refill the...
He needs more servers to keep these new customers coming back.
Let's keep these tables turning as fast as possible, okay? Gonna need to hustle.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Listen up, sporting fans. Central Bank of the Midwest invites you to score a better banking experience with our new sporting checking account. Now you can show off your team spirit at the match or on the go with the official sporting debit card. Plus, you'll gain access to Central Bank's award-winning mobile app with more than 30,000 reviews and a 4.9-star rating. So, score big today by opening your sporting checking account at any of our convenient Central Bank locations or by visiting sportingchecking.com. Member FDIC.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
If you have anything that you'd like to get off your chest, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, as always, we're an open book. Don't call the phones because they don't work half the time. The other half the time, we ignore them fully.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Thanks again to Seth Keysor of the Chief in the North newsletter for joining us as he does pretty much every Tuesday. It's always a pleasure to talk to him, even whenever it brings perhaps problematic food takes. It's always a good time and always interesting to kind of see what he latches on to. We talked about Treylon Burks quite a bit. You know, that being the early wide receiver draft crush, like I said last segment. You know, I feel like I'm ready to fall in love with one of these receivers, and I wanted to fall in love with the first date. And based off that, go read it for yourself. It's unlocked for everybody up in the Chief in the North newsletter. But I don't know that Treylon Burks is going to be the one for me. But that series will continue, and it will be fantastic up there at mnchiefsfan.substack.com. You can also tweet him about how much you love steak or whatever. Again, I know we've discussed this. One of the best things I've ever eaten was a steak. I just think that we have been brainwashed as a society to think that ordering a steak at a sports bar or a chain restaurant or anywhere other than a specific steakhouse is a thing to do. Don't do that. Get yourself a burger or some other type of food at those places. You know, you can save up for your steak of choice, but I think big beef has gotten us on this one. Although again, if it was just hamburgers, I guess big beef would live on. But also, we could have more perhaps interesting food. Also, big beef was, yes, my nickname in college. That's going to do it for us here tonight on Almost Entirely Sports. Thanks to Seth. Thanks to Derek Johnson of KLWN. Thanks to Rudy and intern Adele, as we were all able to share our bad food takes here tonight. We'll be back again tomorrow, just 2 hours tomorrow, though, 8 to 10 tomorrow night. We will talk to you then. So stick around. We'll talk to you in about, 22, 23 hours? We'll do the math, and we'll talk to you at 8 tomorrow night. Till then, bye, Mom.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hi, I'm Steve